Hey folks, welcome to the Generational Gap. It's Robert here, your resident Gen Xer, and with me, of course, as always, is John, our
That's
resident
right.
millennial. Fucking millennial piece of shit. That's what you are.
Yeah,
Hey
no,
John,
late as
how's it going
always,
tonight?
right? Ah,
So,
it's going.
yeah?
We had a good shooting the shit episode.
Yeah, I haven't
That's
seen you
pretty awesome.
since then. How have things been?
Yeah, I know. They've been up and down. As these things do in the last half hour.
So you were jerking off in the intermission?
I can neither confirm nor deny any kind of jerking off.
John, you always ruin my fantasies when you don't confirm or deny.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, as long as you were doing something, maybe you were just edging.
I
But
was doing
anyway,
something productive for sure.
yeah. Is that what her name is? His name? I don't know. I can never tell with you. Hey,
I don't think it
folks.
matters.
Thanks for joining us here tonight with the generational gap. There's a lot going on in my head right now, so I'm a little discombobulated. John, why don't you run the show? I'm going to sit here and smoke cigarettes and suck on some ice cubes and try and be a little chill and relaxed.
All right, fair enough. I mean, we do have an. We are doing a 12-hour episode on New Year's Eve.
Shut up.
I know this is news to Robert apparently.
12
Uh,
hours.
12 hours, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Oh, we're
We're
doing it
gonna try.
overnight.
Oh yeah, yep, gotta do it
I don't
overnight.
think you told
And
me that, and I might.
I did tell you that.
Now all of a sudden I'm feeling like I have issues.
You'll be all right. So, but we
At
do
my
have.
age,
Yeah, you'll. I know. I mean, you can take a nap or whatever. I'll run the show. It'll be all right. But we do have a couple of guests lined up already to do it. I'm trying to get a couple more. I can announce though that we have resident communist Jay going to be on the show.
Jay.
Yeah, we're gonna try and have him on first because that's gonna be pretty exhausting
No,
and
no, Jay is not exhausting.
yeah.
Jay is a
And then
great guy.
we've got Cameron, who we've had in the chat like once. Um,
He did show up, didn't he, in that chat, saying
yeah,
those chatty things.
yeah. So he's got some interesting ideas when it comes to politics. So we're gonna discuss those with him, and then we also have an actual YouTuber, another actual YouTuber who's gonna be on here. Really small channel like us, but bigger than us. Jay Edgar of Matt Christensen fame.
John,
So
it's not the size that matters.
no, it's not. So yeah, we're gonna have Jay Edgar on. Probably no one's familiar with him, but he's a good guy. I've talked to him plenty of times. He's actually the one who taught me how to use OBS. So that's gonna be interesting having him on.
You know, it's funny you say that.
And I actually haven't talked to him about it yet, but we're gonna try and have Midget B on. Try and figure out if he can get his shit together and have a webcam and you know figure out how to use Skype or whatever because he's not on any of that. Maybe
Well,
Discord.
because he's a couple of hours away, isn't he?
Yeah, he lives a few hours away, so to have him in studio would be a chore.
Maybe
But
his wife could help him get set up. Maybe she would know how.
it's not about knowing how. He would know how. It's about having the equipment. But we'll
Oh,
talk
I
about
gotcha.
yeah, we'll talk about that off mic. But like I said, I still have to talk to him about it. I've procrastinated
I've
doing that
always I've always been concerned that
shit.
Midget B didn't have the right equipment for the job.
I don't know. That's not what I hear.
Really? Really? Is
Yeah,
there something we should know?
I mean,
Do tell, Midget. Do tell.
all I'm gonna say is the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. So
Oh, he lost a testicle in the war?
I don't know about all that.
Can neither confirm nor deny.
Right, can neither confirm nor deny.
Yeah, so a
But
12-hour episode. Now, I'm just going to put this out there. There might be some breaks.
yes, no,
Yes?
what we plan on doing is because like YouTube has a hard time processing any streams over like 2 hours. So what we're probably gonna do is do 6 separate 2-hour streams. So what we're gonna do
Your
cut
mic.
that off, take like a 10-minute break,
Uh,
and then do another 2 hours, 10-minute break. So that's how we're kind of gonna get through the night. Because neither of us have ever done.
have
Yeah,
your mic
never
cut
done
out
it.
there for a second.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Neither one of us have done what?
What's going on with my mic? I don't know. It just keeps cutting out.
Must be all that OBS training you had.
Yeah, must be. Must be. So, yeah, anyway.
I still don't know
Um,
what you said. Neither
no,
one
no,
of us
no.
have had what?
I have done a show, like a 12-hour show.
Oh,
Neither.
well, I have done a 12-hour show before. Just not on
Oh,
YouTube. There was a
oh, well.
camera there, if I
Oh,
remember
well.
correctly.
You have to send us a link.
Oh,
On
no.
Pornhub.
No, the link's too big.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, at least that's what she said.
Uh, Funny.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. I can't speak for Robert, I guess. He doesn't seem very excited, but I'm pretty excited about doing it. Gonna have some 5-hour energies going, so I can.
Oh, shit,
stay
that
up.
might be a good idea.
Yeah, because I have to work that day. So
You have to work New Year's Day?
New Year's Eve.
Oh,
Not New Year's.
you have to work.
I'll be off New Year's Day, so
Gotcha.
I can. Yeah. I
Do
can
the
stay up.
crash and splash?
Yeah, exactly.
Or splash, then crash. There you go.
Right. Right.
Hey, Midget says that his equipment is something we got to see to believe. And did you know
Yeah.
you cannot type fag in the chat?
I did not know that.
Then how do you ask somebody for a cigarette or say you're going to go smoke a cigarette if you're from the UK?
Right. I mean, I guess they're just UK phobic. I guess. In YouTube.
Hey, while we lost a viewer last week for saying it, if you like what you're hearing, hit the like button and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We've got a hell of a show for you tonight, or at least I'm going to pretend it is, and John's going to nod a lot while we're talking about it so that it seems like it's interesting. There you go. Everything's more interesting with a beer. But we're going to...
Probably have to grab another one in the middle of the show. And Midget B said, "Hey, it let me type it." It's probably because of the context.
Yeah, we make, can I have a fag?
Yeah, wait. But actually, the proper sentence, I believe, would be like, "Oi, mate, let us have a fag." I
Wait,
believe that's the.
isn't mate going to be... That's going to be Australian, though, isn't it?
That's any kind of.
Do they say
thing,
mate
but-
in
Yeah.
England, the UK?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, look at there. We got Cameron jumping in the chat as
Cameron,
well. What's up,
we
Cameron? Good to
just-
see you tonight. That's Cameron, folks. That's the one we were talking about. John?
Yeah, we were just talking about you doing the 12-hour show, so you better not flick on us, or I'm not going to be your friend anymore.
We were just wondering, Cameron, have you ever done it for 12 hours before?
Well, no, he doesn't have to be there for 12 hours.
Oh. Well, that just
Yeah.
ruins all my fun.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, well, what can you do?
Yeah.
Hey, we've got some topics tonight. I think we're going to be talking a little bit about deplatforming assholes like ourselves, right, John?
Yeah, hopefully we never get big enough to be on someone's radar like that. 'Cause I'm not a big fan of platform. That kind of sucks.
Yeah, I can. I can't wait. But we just watch what we say. We're nice guys.
Oh,
We
yeah,
never
we're
say
sweet boys.
anything out of line.
Boys.
We're also going to be talking a little bit about Brexit because Theresa May's having a bad day. Bad day for May.
Well, all right, yeah, we'll talk about it. Yeah.
How about bad life? I mean, she's just having a rough time of it altogether.
She's
but
not
we got.
super popular.
But we've also got a few other little tidbits here and there. We're going to be talking a little bit about Google, maybe, and a little bit about the Me Too movement. I think we need to give some shout outs to our latest Me Too victim.
Yeah, the final boss of the patriarchy, as it's.
The boss of the patriarchy. But I thought, John, that this was kind of funny, and I'm glad you're going to let me bring it out here because I thought this was kind of funny, and I know Midget B is a little concerned about this mommy blog that we might be throwing out here, but it's an interesting story that I ran across, and it's one of those that just made me scratch my head. because I couldn't understand that this was really something that somebody was. I don't know.
concerned about.
Right. So, Mom writes in, as you can see, Mom wants to know how to get help with her racist infant, and people are getting heated over this. It was kind of it's really one of those things.
That's a cute baby. I think you're wrong there.
Oh, he doesn't like the baby? Look.
He said it's an ugly ass baby.
Look,
cute baby.
with a little butter, garlic, I think that's a tasty looking baby right there for me.
Yeah.
Can I say that on the air? Is that going to get us deplatformed? I don't know
Say
what's
whatever
right
the
and
hell
what's
you want.
I don't know what's right and wrong anymore.
We're not even monetized. Like it's whatever.
I know, but you never know how many snowflakes are out there.
No one's
Anyway,
watching the show. It's all good.
oh, hey, that's good to tell our audience that they're nobody.
But in 10 years, it's gonna bite us in the ass. So we'll just have to deal with it then.
All right. So anyway, Mom writes in to the Slate to ask their advice columnists a little advice on parenting. As it says, teaching your kids to be thoughtful about race is not just a good suggested parenting practice. It's absolutely crucial. It's crucial now, John. It's crucial. But for one mom, her overwhelming concern that her child is racist has caused the internet to question her own thinking. No shit. That's because the kid she's worried about is only 4 months old. And here is what she wrote in and said. Dear Care and Feeding, I'm a white parent with a white family in a predominantly white neighborhood. When my kids get closer to school age, we'd like to move into a more diverse area. Oh, let's applaud that. Let's give her a round of applause for moving into a more diverse area. And for now, I try to choose books and media with diverse characters. Let's hear for Dora the Explorer. All right. However, yesterday at a company party, my 4-month-old met a black person, the significant other of a coworker, for one of the first times. He had just finished telling me how much babies love him. Then my infant took one look at him and started crying. I gave a weak excuse about her being hungry, but it was pretty transparent. Really? Let's hear it for transparency, Mom. Transparency is a big one. I'm embarrassed and unsure if I should address the situation with my coworker or pretend it didn't happen. Any thoughts on how to handle my racist infant? Okay. John? Reaction? Thoughts?
Just laughter. Just laughter. It's fucking ridiculous. Like, a baby has no idea about race.
4-year-old. 4-month-old, excuse me. A 4-month-old is freaking out because she met somebody at an office party.
Babies cry. Like, that's a thing. It's one of the few skills they have.
John, it was pretty transparent.
Yeah,
I mean,
no.
she started hiding Mom's car keys. I mean, come on, just shoved her car keys into Pampers. But there were a few, folks on the site got a little steamed, as you might guess. What do we say? They were shocked at the mental gymnastics this mom took to come to the conclusion that it was the baby who was making an issue over race.
Yeah.
Some poked fun at her. My baby cried, and the only explanation is that it's racist, and I'm totally not.
Right.
Right?
Exactly. It has to have been about race. It can't be about anything. It can't be just that babies cry.
Another person speculated,
especially when they're being handed over to someone
who's
not familiar with.
Right. That kind of has a little bit of an impact. Another person speculated that this might be a case of the mom projecting her own discomfort on her kid. Really?
Yeah, no shit.
I project my feelings on my infant. Is there a way I can blame the baby?
Right, exactly.
Nice. And we all know that consuming diverse media is the same thing as not being racist, right? As a believer in diversity, I have purchased many photographs of people of color. Seriously, many people couldn't believe that this mom would blame her baby's tears on race.
Right.
Yeah, it was pretty transparent. And it's pretty transparent just by reading it, of course, because, yeah.
Clearly, the baby is the problem. The baby just, he's just been listening to a lot of alt-right material on YouTube and, just couldn't handle it.
So here's what the columnist wrote back. Dear, she didn't know any better. I firmly and unreservedly forbid you from ever speaking or thinking about this utter non-event ever again.
Right?
That being said, please spend more time around black people. It would likely be good for both you and your baby. Mostly you. I believe that reply is pretty transparent.
True, yeah.
It gets the point across.
The best way to debunk the whole intersectionality thing is to spend time with people of color in general, but black people, Hispanic, whatever. You'll see what nonsense intersectionality is as soon as you spend any amount of time with people of color who don't conform to that. You see that's where I think a big problem with intersectionality is that people who grew up around their own race don't interact with other people of other races. Because once you do, I grew up in North Charleston, South Carolina. Tons of black people around, and I had tons of black friends. I know I'm one of those guys. Oh, I have tons of black friends, but they don't care. Like, the race is not an issue when it comes to that.
Well, I mean,
it's only people who don't spend a lot of time and then they consume, this propaganda.
It is it's a scientific fact. Babies don't see color in that way at that age. They don't. Right, they don't make any correlation to race. They don't make nothing. It's. Yeah. I mean, it's a little off-putting if you're constantly only around white people. Yes, being introduced to an African American is going to be a little off-putting. Maybe would get that response only because it's something new.
But not at 4 months old.
No, seriously, a 4-month-old could do that. But the same reaction could happen if you put that 4-month in front of a giraffe.
Yeah.
Because it's an oddity, and they don't necessarily know it. That fight or flight kicks in, right?
Yeah.
Dante Gibson, unintentional racism. I exactly. It's
unintentional.
Yeah. But it would be racism. It would be speciesism.
That's all it is. The baby just needs to be re-educated.
Yeah, right. Put her in a camp for re-education.
Yeah.
But it's it's obviously got to be her first kid.
Yeah, clearly. But she's probably a 20-something, year-old mom in college, raising a kid.
But this definitely speaks to present-day parenting. The young generations having kids now. Boy, I've had my tummy full of it. Close to home, outside of the home. I see it. I watch it. I see these things that parents are doing. You have a child just screaming at the top of their lungs. Oh, they're just finding their voice. I found their voice, and it's breaking my fucking eardrums.
Stop it.
Yeah. And they want to take them on airplanes. They want to go on airplanes with them too. Shit like this.
I've been lucky every time I've flown. There's never been a baby, or at least a loud baby, on the plane. I've been lucky in that case, at least.
But these ideas that parents are having, there's a lot more of this, projecting onto children. Like, I guess we all do it. I found myself doing that with my daughters, right? One of my daughters, when she was young, the first one I had with my ex-wife, I introduced her to Star Wars. Now, was that me projecting my likes on her? Yeah. Did I justify it by saying it's great for the imagination? Yeah. But I was also introduced. She had Barbies too, so it wasn't like she was. I was doing both. We kind of project on it, but to project your own personal.
That's the thing. Is like my dad also introduced me to Star Wars, and now I have an encyclopedic knowledge of Star Wars lore.
I wouldn't call it encyclopedic.
Oh no, you don't. You have no idea.
I do have an idea, John.
No, I promise. It's encyclopedic.
Encyclopedic.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But I'll give you that. You know a little bit about Star Wars, I would say. So,
Well, yeah.
but yeah, I mean, these parents projecting their own sociopathic behavior on children. That's where I got to draw the fucking line. I mean, I equate it to the simple thing that you see a lot of parents do. Is a very simple thing. I don't like this food, so I'm not going to introduce it to my child. The child won't like it because I don't.
In Midget B, I do know why TK421 was not at his post. It's because he got knocked the fuck out. That's why.
Ooh.
He was the one who was standing outside the Millennium Falcon in A New Hope when they got dragged in by the tractor beam, and he was the one who went inside, and they beat the shit out of him and took his armor, and then they were like, TK421, why are you not at your post? That was that. So I do know why TK421 was not at his post, and I also know that it's the only stormtrooper who was named in the entire series. At least the original trilogy. Yeah, I mean, Finn was there.
Moff Tarkin, nicely done, Midget B. Nicely done. Homosexual, homo relationship with Moff Tarkin. Hey, John, I'm going to interject here because we've got a special request from the audience, and seeing as how this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart, we can donate a few minutes to this topic because
I know
I can't not talk about this fuck.
You got Orange Man Blue Ball.
Orange Man Blue Balls. Yes, that is true. I'm very close to blue balls. But hey, the Mueller investigation. Cameron, that's a very good point. There's a lot going on. It's been all over the news the last 2 weeks, but very heavily this week. There's a lot going on with that. And, I can't imagine that there's anybody that would actually listen to this show that's not up to speed on this. So we're going to digress for a moment and talk about it. Things are getting kind of hairy for the Orange Man. I'm just saying. They're getting a little bit hairy for him.
Orange Man who is both bad and racist. And, make sure
he's a lot of things. But when it's all said and done, racist is a small part of it. He's a corrupt son of a bitch, and it's coming out. We just had Michael Cohen get sentenced to 3 years in prison for lying to Congress initially, trying to protect this son of a bitch. And when he did, he also decided he was gonna just blow even more whistles. All said and done, he was just going to come clean about everything. He has no longer got any loyalty to Trump, and there's a lot of talk going on right now about not only are we, finding things out from Cohen, but we're also finding out things from his paperwork, where now we were looking at Russia. Now we're also incorporating a look at the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and Israel as well for back-channeling money and trying to influence the election, as was Russia, according to the investigation, what they're looking into. Not collusion. Trump is right. It's not collusion. We're talking about conspiracy. And then we've got Patina.
Sorry, say that again real quick.
It's conspiracy.
Not what?
It's not collusion.
What? Can you say that one more time?
It's not collusion. He is right. I read an article. Somebody called it out, and he said he is right. He is saying it's not collusion constantly, and he's right. It's not collusion. This is all about conspiracy. It really is. We've got Patina, who has pled guilty. She was the young lady who had embedded herself with the NRA, trying to push a pro-NRA/Russian agenda here in the United States, getting herself as tightly wound in with the administration before it went into play. So looking at monies there passing back and forth, who she was tied in on the Republican side, trying to get deep in there. But she has pled guilty with a plea deal that's going to allow her to sing and deal with less time. And something interesting about that is she answers to the top man in Russia, ultimately. And if he's put his okay stamp on her taking a plea deal, then that means that this investigation has gotten deep enough that even Vladimir himself has decided that he wants to cut ties with the Orange Man and separate himself if he can. But I think this is going to run up a long ways, even to the extent that they are also saying that the Trump real estate that he was working on and trying to get built in Russia, that Trump wanted to do, was continuing on during the 2016 election run-up, while he was campaigning, etc., and even potentially past the election, though the Orange Man says he cut all ties before he started campaigning in regards to that deal. And now the newest development is that there is inauguration funding slash spending that was not above board. That even companies, the company AT&T, may have been involved in contributing money to the inauguration fund in return for preferential treatment on legislation, lobbying, et cetera, through the administration, even going so deep as being unsure as to where part of the money is. There's potentially $40 million that's unaccounted for. And then we also find out that a lot of the events that were going on for the inauguration were held right there at Trump's building there in D.C. And they were overcharging, what appears to be overcharging. There were emails going back and forth, this seems excessive, this kind of thing, back and forth. Even the fact that people were offering free locations for some of these venue happenings during the inauguration run-up, to where money wouldn't have had to be spent. But all told, funding for his inauguration wound up being almost double what Obama raised for his inauguration. And they are saying that some of the sources of that funding were questionable. The way it was spent may have violated, law. Actual law and tax fraud. So it's there's a lot that Mueller is pulling. He's actually getting to some deep down nitty gritty, and I think a lot of it is the fact that people decided that they were no longer going to be loyal to this man, and he is isolating himself. He is winding up on a small little barren island by himself, and I'm not sure if he's going to be able to pull himself out of this. It seems to me that it's leading up. There was even a couple of articles that came out that people behind the scenes with him have said that he has expressed concern about potential impeachment whenever the Democrats come into the House in January, and at the same time their intent is to demand that he bring forth his tax records as well, which have never surfaced and we've never seen. That's kind of all been going on in just the last week, 10 days.
Yeah,
Thoughts?
I can tell you're really trying to get that off your chest. But yeah, so like I said before, if he's actually done something wrong, he needs to account like anybody else. And I would say that about anybody. It doesn't matter. But again, this whole Russia thing, that is nonsense. And so again, Mueller is finding things outside of the purview of the investigation. Fine, if you can uncover.
Your mic is out.
Oh, is it?
It's coming and going.
Oh fuck! What the
But
hell?
you're okay. Yeah.
All right, give me 2 seconds. Did you hear that?
1,000. Yeah, we can hear you. You're broadcasting. Please pardon this technical difficulty, folks. John, as John walks.
I'm not sure why that's happening now. Because everything's plugged in correctly.
Yeah, might just be mic wobble. It might be. Yeah, we're hearing you now.
Yeah, sorry about that, Midget B and everyone else.
So you were saying if there was.
Yeah,
but you don't think so.
Wait, no, I'm saying like if he's done something wrong, he should be held to account like anybody else. And but again, Mueller's gone outside of the purview of the Russian investigation to find things, and he's found a lot of like normal Washington corruption, which is great. If we can put these people in prison, awesome. But again, it's not anything to do with Russia, right? He's finding the just normal Washington corruption, which again, great.
But now
Yeah.
where I disagree there when we talk about Russia is this simple thing, or a few simple things. A, we already know about the meeting in Trump Tower that was lied about multiple times. So if there was nothing, if everything was above board with that meeting, there would have been no reason to lie. But then we also find out that Bettina, and hopefully more of this is going to come out, there was already concern that money had been flowing through the NRA from Russia to then be funneled into his campaign. So basically, the NRA laundering money for the Russians into Trump's campaign. And Bettina ultimately answers to a boss in Russia. And that boss, as we all know, ultimately the buck stops at Putin. No matter what else is happening, she was tied in with the NRA and trying to make a move with gun rights and gun bullshit in Russia, which means that he's a hunter, duh. So but he's overseeing this, and she would have answered directly to him, even through his proxies. Everybody she's been associated with in Russia has been some placeholder around him. And it goes back to what I say about the orange man, and I'll say the same thing about the bare-chested man. When it's all said and done, if you don't know what's going on beneath you in your organization, you're a fucking liar. I mean, that was something else that, I believe I told you this off mic. They found out that Trump sat in on the meeting with Pecker from the National Enquirer and a representative of AMI, the publisher for the National Enquirer, where they talked and decided how they were going to hush a story that was going to impact his campaign, and that's illegal.
Isn't the National Enquirer that one like magazine or whatever that did like the Bat Boy and
sure they report, it's a shock mag, but they still report real media as well. And they smeared Hillary Clinton all the way throughout the 2016 campaign and didn't say anything negative about Donald Trump because he was tight with his pecker.
One of the few try and destroy Trump. But I mean, again, so it's one of those things that, like, what are we hearing about? What do we not know? We really can't make any kind of conclusions until.
But there are paper trails are coming forward. AMI has said they have made a deal for immunity to where they will testify, and testimony is a pretty strong carry. Whether you've got a piece of paper or testimony from somebody who was there, an eyewitness, testimony says a lot, John. All it really takes is a matter of, can we impeach him? And once he's impeached, to be honest with you, a lot of this stuff that's going on from the federal level won't really matter because New York is chomping at the bit to get this son of a bitch for campaign fraud as well and tax issues.
Yeah, and again, if he's done something wrong, he needs to be held accountable, and not just him. Anyone who's done something wrong needs to be held to account. But again, we can't know anything until it comes out, and you have to go through due process.
Well, the downside is that okay, so we've got to be able to impeach him first because he, from what I understand, you can't indict a sitting president.
He would have to be impeached and removed from office, and then be able to taken up on charges afterwards.
And like I said, that's really all I want. I want him impeached. I want this son of a bitch who does not have the character or the real testicles to run this country to get the fuck out of office. I want him gone. He's not American. He's not a representation of what America should be. And I understand your point, Midget, that Midget says we'll see how all this plays out. It hasn't been at all worth the hype thus far. But
what he said is actually pretty much the concise version of what I was saying. That's a much more concise way of saying it. We'll see how it plays out. But
so what would make it worthwhile?
What do you mean
What would make all
worthwhile?
this hype worthwhile? Is there an end game, an end result that would make it worthwhile?
If there was actual Russian collusion, if there was collusion with the Russian government to get Trump elected, as has been being said by the Democrats for the last 2.5 years.
So 14 indictments against Russians for hacking and playing with social media to sway the
Right.
election
These,
is not the tip of the iceberg of
that
potential
wasn't
Russian
no
conspiracy to
that wasn't
impact.
collusion. That was meddling at best. And the thing is, there is actually evidence of like social media, uh, like meddling. There's a podcast that I don't watch as much anymore, but I used to all the time. The Drunken Peasants, and anytime that they would talk about Putin at all in a negative light, suddenly their viewer count would jump up, and there would be a bunch of people in the chat, in the live chat, talking pro Putin stuff and defending him and all that kind of stuff. I mean, there is evidence of that sort of thing happening, but there's nothing between connecting Trump and Putin, and there's
Well,
nothing connecting
that's like
collusion
saying
between the
there's
two
nothing
to get him
connecting
elected.
Cohen and Trump.
That's not true. There is
It's
absolutely things connecting
but
Cohen
you
and Trump because
what
he
I'm
was his lawyer.
what I'm
There's a
saying is
direct connection there.
it goes back to what I'm saying about being the boss of all this. Somebody sits at the top and knows what's going on in their infrastructure below them. And in Russia, it all comes down to Putin. It's not like if Russia is involved, Putin's involved. There is no yes or there's no iffiness about that. I mean, there's not a bunch of people that
Right.
are his right hand
Well,
people throughout the
obviously, so
years that are suddenly doing this without his go ahead and his say so.
so obviously, there's evidence at the very least of Putin wanting Trump to be elected, but there's no evidence of Trump directly talking with Putin or getting with Putin to sway the election. There's evidence of Putin like trying to sway public opinion towards that because it does behoove him to have Trump as president, whereas Hillary was talking about going to war with Russia. Obviously he doesn't want that. So if Hillary becomes president, we're going to be at war with Russia. So obviously Putin doesn't want that. He wants the president who's talking about not doing that. So I mean, it's just a simple political maneuver as opposed to this whole hysteria of collusion and trying to get this person in who's going to then be on Putin's side and try and suck Putin's dick. That's not happening.
Well, you know me. I'm more conspiracy theorist than you.
Yeah, I know.
But whenever Trump Jr. gets an email and says, "Hey, we want to have a meeting," and hey, by the way, we've got some really nasty stuff on
Yeah.
Clinton, and his response is, "Oh yeah, I'd really like to see that,"
Well, of course you
and it's
would.
coming from the Russians, that begins to make me question and wonder
Big
if there's
scary
not
Russians.
something there that they need to dig deeper into.
Well, yeah, they've had 2.5 years to dig
And
deeper
and
than
and and are we
just
not
come up
getting
with.
deeper and deeper? I mean,
No,
don't
like I said, we're branching out away from Russian collusion, and we're branching out into normal Washington
they're
corruption.
trying to
So
figure
both
out where
needs
the
to be dealt
money's
with.
coming from. They're
Fine.
tracing
If they
money, and
listen, if I
and
said it
they just
before,
happen to be finding it in different places.
if they find that connection, good on them. Impeach Trump, get him out of office. Fine. But what I'm saying is that there is nothing like that. In my opinion, there's nothing like. I don't see any evidence for it.
So
I think.
if he didn't if it's concluded that he didn't have anything, he wasn't colluding and or as this better term conspiring with
Mhm.
Russia, then everything else that's come to light as well should just go away.
What do you mean everything else that's come to light?
Well, when we're talking about hush money being paid out during the campaign to affect the campaign, when we're when we're looking at things like that, or tax fraud, or campaign fraud, uh, you know erroneous spending, or misdirection of funds. All of these things should be ignored if the initial crux of the investigation doesn't hold water.
I don't think they should be ignored. No, like I said, if he's done something that is outright illegal, he's done something that he's not supposed to do, then yeah, he should be held accountable for it.
Well, one thing I will say about the Mueller investigation, the longer it goes on, it has dragged. I'll give you that. We've spent a lot of money on this investigation from what the figures show,
Yeah.
right? There's a lot of money been spent on this. However,
Hmm.
even we've had more than one moment throughout this investigation, like these last couple of weeks, where suddenly, it's like digging in in the pyramids, and they suddenly they open up another room that they didn't have access to and discover a whole bunch more treasures. And it's a choose your own adventure book kind of thing. Oh, which way do you want to go with this, right? You want to go chase this money? You want to go chase this fraud? What do you want to go chase? Pick your poison, but you can always backtrack and come back, and you'll have another avenue to go as well. But we keep having these minor explosions.
Yeah.
But it was Dougal, Catherine Dougal, that they're talking about with the National Enquirer, Midget B, not Daniels. This is about the other mistress that he
Yeah.
carried on with for a year, the first year of Barron's life, that he started seeing her right around the time Barron was born, and there was a conspiracy between him, according to AMI, the publisher, that he and Pecker and they conspired to keep this hushed so it wouldn't affect the campaign, and that's campaign fraud. It's illegal.
So it is, and I mean we're talking. Say the same thing I said earlier, that if he did something wrong, he should be held accountable. So I mean that's gonna be my answer for pretty much anything.
Well, I'm just I'm
So
just
maybe
I'm
you want to
just
move
waiting for
on.
the next little explosion. It'll probably be another month or so. We'll have another little pop of fun stuff that
Right,
goes on.
exactly.
We'll
And,
have to
and
see.
every time something happens, it's always like, oh, this is it. This is the one that's gonna bring him down, and then it doesn't. So I mean, I'm not gonna get hold my breath. I'm not excited about it. We'll see what happens.
But
And
anyway, so hopefully, Cameron, that might address some of your wants and desires for the discussion about the Mueller investigation. There's just that's just a fucking can of worms that could just go on and on and on and on, or at least I could. John hates it. I know he hates
well,
hearing.
it's just because like I'm not gonna say he did something wrong when he's got to go through due process. He's got to. We have to have proof. We have to have evidence. It's just not there yet.
I know.
So
I'm just waiting for that day where even if it's off
listen, if
mic,
it
where you
happens,
go, I want this fucker out of office too.
no, if it happens, I will. If it happens, I will eat crow and I will say I was wrong. It happened. He needs to be out. I'll say it on. I'll say it live. I'll say it on the show.
No, I'm not.
I have no problem
I
with that.
don't care. I don't care about that. I firmly believe that even if they don't find evidence, I know for a fact that he's been in bed with Russians. He has been. It's just
He's
it
been in bed
doesn't
with
take a
everyone. No
genius
one
to
talks
figure
about
it
his.
out.
No one talks about his Chinese connections. You
Oh,
know what I
he's got
mean?
deep ones
Like,
there, and the ones he's
yeah,
trying to build in North Korea. So they're all there, and I don't want this fucker who will play America like a piece on a board to get his way.
that's
Uh,
what global politics is.
no, not
Yeah,
necessarily. Not in the
it
way
is.
he's doing it. There are other
Okay.
ways to fucking do it, and we've had presidents that have proven that.
Yeah. No, they've just not been as scrutinized. But let's go ahead and move on
Yeah. It's called
to the next
diplomacy,
thing.
John. Duh,
Yeah,
duh. Haven't you played that game?
I've played Risk, and that's how
Have
you.
diplomacy makes Risk look like checkers.
Oh yeah, I'm
Yeah,
interested then. I'll play. I'll play
it's
diplomacy.
monstrous. All right, so anyway, let's swing this back on track now that I'll try and climb down off this soapbox.
Yeah, please
Um,
do.
you love hearing me talk about it, John. It's the only
Uh,
thing I really feel some passion about most days.
it's true. Yeah, it's the only thing that can get you rambling.
It does. It does. It gets me going. Oh,
Yeah,
rambling, is it? Is that what we're going with now? Thanks. I
yeah.
appreciate that. You make me feel special when you say these things. All right. So, moving on, the snowflakes out there, and we're going to have to go with I guess this falls to the present day feminists and the white knight feminists. love the Me Too movement. This has been going on. This is, I guess, if I'm not mistaken, because like their core values, a lot of this stems around the whole misogynistic, patriarchal society that we're in, and all the sexual harassment that goes on. Harvey Weinstein and practically every politician that we can think of is in some way or another, really trod upon the female gender. Am I correct?
Well, one of the female genders, as it were.
But so Sunday night, something interesting happened that and came out that I personally was just like, fuck yeah. I mean, this is awesome shit. This man's post perfectly sums up what's wrong with Me Too. Two seemingly innocuous words, Me Too, began to appear on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram feeds, first in trickles, then in spurts. By October 18th, a veritable flood of Me Too posts had come to dominate the internet as primarily women and femme identifying folks used the hashtag created by Tyrannosaurus Burke. And popularized,
probably problematic, I'm sure.
Tarana Burke, and popularized by actress Alyssa Milano to share experiences of sexual harassment and assault.
Wait, popularized
by actress Alyssa Milano. She was popular a couple of times.
There's no way she's still popular.
Men have penises. Of course she's going to be popular. So, this Me Too movement has really, really gone on. But recently, and I can't believe this, John, this one is not giving me the quote in here.
No, here, let me see if I can find it. Just, I don't know, bullshit for a second. Talk about the Orange Man bad or whatever.
Orange Man bad. Is the Orange Man truly bad, John? Is he ever really bad? He's just our friend.
He's our friend, yeah. Where the fuck is it? I know I sent it. God damn it. Oh, you know
Did
what?
you?
I think, hang on. Yeah, no, it's in a different channel. It's in our private Discord server where we do gay ops and such.
Our private Discord?
Yeah.
That means I'm going to have to
find it.
I'm going to have to minimize my screen.
No. Keep doing what you're doing. I'll find it.
Oh, are you going to be that guy? But how are you going to get it to me?
I'm going to send it to this chat. Jesus Christ. Like, do we have to... Oh, here we go. Found it. See, I already found it.
Did you? You're fast, John.
Yeah, it's almost like I know how to internet. All right.
Yeah, there it is.
See? Told you.
You're amazing, John. If it weren't for you...
What would you even do? Like, how... So I don't even know.
I would probably kill myself.
Yeah, I imagine.
But I hear that's fun.
See.
So anyway,
like I'm keeping people alive. I'm saving lives.
So anyway, Mikado Professor, his name is Mikado is a professor from Minnesota State University who is taking the heat for something he put out because he claims that God is the next person who should be Me Too'd. And it was very, What'd you say?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was very important what he said, and I wholeheartedly buy into this. I think this is one of the greatest things ever in fucking life. He put out on Twitter, he said, the virgin birth story is about an all-knowing, all-powerful deity impregnating a human teen. There is no definition of consent that would include that scenario. Happy holidays. Enjoy your fucking Christmas. He also went on to say the biblical God regularly punished disobedience. The power difference, deity versus mortal, and the potential for violence for saying no negates her yes. To put someone in this position is an unethical abuse of power at best and grossly predatory at worst. God has been Me Too'd.
That's right. God is guilty of Me Too.
So,
this is the funniest thing, like.
But you've read the Bible.
Yeah.
right? I
Three
mean,
separate times actually. Unfortunately, it's a very tough read.
now, now, just in God's fictional defense,
Hmm.
Gabriel came down and told Mary this was going to happen.
Right.
But this is really kind of like how could I equate this? An analogy. It'd be like being at a frat party, you know, a good old fashioned college keg party, and a guy taking a girl up to the bedroom and say, "Hey, wait right here. My boy Brett is going to come up and rape your ass, but you're going to like it. It's important that you do this, because one of these days." He's going to be looking at a Supreme Court nomination, and you could be the one that gets your 15 minutes of fame, you dumb cunt.
Oh my god! Wow, I don't think that's a good analogy at all.
Well, that's kind of what Gabriel did. Hey, Mary, God's going to
No,
come,
it's
and
like,
he's
hey,
going to put.
look, like my boy God, he likes you a lot. He kind of wants to, he wants to do you, but he's too shy to say it himself. What
No,
do
no,
you
no, no.
think?
Not that
You
he
pass it
wants to do
to
you, is going to do you. There was a
well,
very distinct. She had been chosen.
right?
She
She
was
had been
going to
chosen.
be the vessel of God.
But see, the thing is, with God, he's omniscient and omnipotent, so he knows everything that everyone's going to do, all the choices they're going to make. So he already knew she was going to say yes before she did.
She never consented.
But she did by the
Do we?
fact that,
Not
he
if.
created her, and by the fact that he knew that she was going to say yes because he's
If you.
omniscient.
But you could get killed for denying God. That's what he's
You
saying, right?
Yeah, exactly, Midget Pete. It's fucking
It's
great. This guy.
absolutely beautiful. I think it is one of the best logical conclusions ever. And I mean, come on. I mean, how can you honestly say, I mean, if you've read the Bible at all, it is one of the most patriarchal, misogynistic pieces of
It really
literature
is.
ever. I mean,
Yeah.
come on, right? Um, it's like Sodom and Gomorrah. There's some stories that come about with Sodom and Gomorrah. Oh, don't look back at Sodom and Gomorrah. If you
Well,
do,
yeah.
you'll be turned to a pillar of salt. Who gets turned to a pillar of salt? Fucking weak ass woman who
Yeah,
couldn't resist
yeah,
turning
it was.
around. And
Well, it
sure
was Lot,
enough,
right? Lot's wife.
Lot's wife, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, come on. I mean, it's I mean, just the simple fact that
Well,
Jesus
see, I
did
mean,
not
that just shows
hire
that
any
women need
women.
to learn how to listen. That's it. Women need to learn how to listen. If Lot's wife had listened, she wouldn't have been turned into a pillar of salt. I'm just saying, that's it. Just saying. Women need to learn how to listen.
I don't know. It's one of those things. I mean, it's like look at Noah's Ark. He had all his sons. He didn't have any daughters. The only woman for guarantee that was going on the ark was his wife because they needed somebody to cook and clean.
Yeah.
You know. Of course, Ham and all of them were married and all. It wasn't as Ham and Josephat. Joe was fat.
Hmm.
Whatever his name was. Um,
Yeah, Josephat.
yeah, so,
Yeah.
jumping. He was jumping.
He
Um,
was.
but
Jumping
it's the entire book is riddled with it.
Oh
And
yeah. I mean,
Jesus had 12 disciples. Didn't hire a fucking female one, and they were
well,
all white.
you also have to. Yeah, it's true. You have to look. I mean, it's 13 men. With no visible means of support. I'm just saying. Someone was
Neckbeards,
selling
no
some weed.
less.
Someone was selling some weed. That's all I'm saying.
Someone was selling some weed, right? They were all wearing sandals, right? Just Birkenstocks. They were
Exactly.
just
Bunch
all
of
in
hippies,
Birkenstocks.
bunch of
Wear,
long hair hippies wearing
wouldn't
sandals.
even take off their fucking robes from them. Yeah, just kept them on all day
Nah,
long, just
I,
walking
I
around
can't
in their
take I can't
pajamas.
take credit. I can't take credit for that joke. That's a Ralphie May joke, but it's fucking hilarious.
But I mean, who came to visit Jesus? Three wise men. Were there
Yeah.
any women there besides Mary?
Mary. Presumably a midwife would have been there to deliver. I'm
Uh,
guessing.
God
I'm
don't
guessing.
need no
I don't.
midwife.
No, but Mary
No,
does.
they. I don't remember there being anything about midwife or anything. I mean,
I'm trying to remember
even
like the
Nestor the
nativity
fucking
scene.
long-eared donkey was male.
Yeah.
They
What
were
about
all
the
male.
donkey? Yeah, the donkey from oh, who was it? Who had the donkey? Oh man.
Nice
That's
midget
funny,
bee.
midget P.
Ever seen a wise woman? Oh my God.
Seeing a wine's ass woman.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
So
We're gonna
that.
get in trouble. We're gonna
Yeah,
be
well, no,
deplatformed.
nobody watches our
We don't
show.
even
It's fine,
we don't have any platform. We just have a soapbox. But
right?
you know,
Screaming into an empty alleyway. It'll be fine. No
but
one's gonna
I
hear
mean, women have been getting a bad rap since fucking just from Genesis on. I mean,
us. Oh yeah,
one apple was enough. Fuck them.
yeah.
And now Apple's the biggest company in the entire fucking world, and it's kind of scary. They are of the devil.
Oh yeah, they are the devil.
So what do you
Apple
think,
and
John?
Google.
Was this a Me Too situation?
I think she consented. Besides, they didn't even have sex, so can you really say that, you know, that she was raped or that there was some kind of sexual harassment? I don't think so, because there was no actual sex. It was like artificial insemination.
I'm kind of curious. Is it okay to call Jesus a bastard? His dad was never
Um,
around, and he didn't even send child support.
yeah, yeah, I guess so. And Jesus, one of his last words were, "Why have you forsaken me, Father?" So, I imagine that yeah, you could say he's a bastard son.
He was. Yeah, he
Yeah,
was. Joseph
he was
wasn't his
raised. He
father.
was raised by yeah, he was raised by
But
his
props to
stepfather.
Joseph. Props to
Yeah,
Joseph for standing up. And
yeah, the original cuck. Yeah,
the original cuck.
the
Yes,
original
he
cuck.
was. He was. God, that just made me think of something horrible to ask, and I can't because even myself, I'm just like, good
Do
God,
it.
that's just too far.
Do it. Don't be a
No, I
pussy. Do it.
can't. I can't
Do
ask
it.
if Joseph licked God's cum out of her pussy. I can't ask a question like that because I think that would just be going too far.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't ask
I
that
won't
question
ask
that you
that
just asked.
question.
One that you just asked. You probably shouldn't do that.
So then it does beg another question since you brought up the cuck aspect. Does Is God BBC?
Oh yeah, for
See,
sure.
Dante, there it is. Too far. See, I went
Too
too
far.
far. It's not my fault he brought up the cuck. I
Send
swear to
send your
God.
send your send your hate mail to Robert. Not to me. I didn't say it. So send all your hate mail to him.
I was
And
raised Catholic and then
yeah,
I
I
was
was also
rebaptized
raised.
later as a Baptist. And I also spent some time in the Mormon tradition for, I don't
Okay,
know, like about a year.
for a
And
fact.
now I strictly follow Philip Morris. Philip Morris is my God.
There you go.
It's really what it is now. It's like I'll live or die by the cigarette. It's just what it winds up being.
Yeah, no, I was raised Catholic too until I was, old enough to see through the bullshit. But I mean, whatever. I don't care if anyone else just like do your thing. But
I shit you not. It had to be 2 weeks ago. Somebody from the Pope came out and said there might be a problem with homosexuality in the Catholic Church.
oh well,
There
at least he's
might
willing to go that
be an
far.
issue. He
He
has
might be.
concerns about
Yeah,
homosexuality in
we'll look into it. Don't worry about it. We'll
he
look
has
into
some
it.
concerns. Um, but when it's all said and done, you know what? I was raised Catholic, but even when I couldn't buy into it. But I grew up in an abusive home, a very abusive home, sexually and physically. And I would watch these two people every Saturday go to confession and be forgiven their sins so that they could commit them all over again the entire next week. Cameron, the men who wrote about the details of Jesus' birth in the Bible wrote it over 100 years
Yeah,
after the death of Jesus and nearly 140 years after his birth. Let's say we have an unreliable narrator at best. Correct. And if
yeah,
I'm
I
not
agree with that.
mistaken, weren't there like 8,000 people involved with this? Like a large collection of men putting this fiction together?
Well, a lot of what it was like derivative of other cultures. So like Sumerian texts, Egyptian texts, even as far as like India. There's a lot of like the overlap of the virgin birth, being baptized in a river, um, dying and coming back 3 days later. Like there's a lot of overlap in a lot of those ancient religions, and it just so happened that that one was more popular. And not only that, but during while Jesus was alive, there were a lot of people doing what he was doing. Raising the dead, um,
Witchcraft.
making necromancy actually. Um, the fish and loaves of bread. Multiplying fish and loaves of bread. And things like that. So I
Got it.
mean, there's a lot of overlap with ancient religions and stuff. So they borrowed heavily
Dante.
from those other religions. I know.
Dante
Yeah, I,
says,
I happen
"God
I
is
happen
for."
to know that Dante is a religious person, and so I have no ill will towards you. I'm not even trying to
No,
stop you from believing
you
what you
know what?
believe. That's fine.
I don't have ill will towards anybody who is religious or has a relationship with a higher power. What I have a problem with is ultimately is organized religion.
Yeah,
The again, corruption. The things that go on in multiple religions, and honestly, I think most of them are just a method of control for the masses. This is how we will control the masses. We will give them something that is intangible, that we can offer no definitive proof of, and tell them
yeah,
that this is what makes the world go round, and that they have to answer to this higher source through us. And through
yeah.
this, we can control them. Dante says he's not religious.
Oh, I thought you were, man. Sorry, I mean to malign you. Then,
Yeah, don't be
but
offensive to non-religious people,
yeah,
John. Fuck
I
off,
know. I'm a
man.
piece of shit. I'm sorry. I apologize for my shittery.
Oh, speaking of religion, it was interesting in Illinois where we saw that 51 point stag. Um, they had put religious. They had allowed religious uh, symbols to be put into the state house
Mm.
for the holidays, right? So, but there's
Yeah,
an atheist church, and so and people are going nuts. One of the religious symbols that was there is an arm holding an apple with the snake wrapped around it for the Church of Satan,
yeah.
and but. They said we will not pull it because that would be infringing
Right.
on right to religion. We can't step on people's rights this way.
And that's what I love about Florida is I believe it was in Tallahassee, state's capital. There was like a big, nativity scene outside of the either the city hall or uh something like that. It was some big government building over there. And so the church of the Satanist church put up a statue of Baphomet there, and like all the religious people, all the Christians got all pissed off about it, and they're like, "There's nothing we can do. If we take down the statue of Baphomet, we have to take down the nativity scene." You know, and so
Well,
I thought that was pretty funny.
Well, Sprinkle's tweet, a lot of people the same thing. They wanted this pulled. They wanted him taken out of the university.
Oh, see,
Um,
fuck that. I'm not okay with that.
but
Let him talk his fucking bullshit and let him, whatever. I'm
this
not.
is this is what they said. The as a public institution of higher education, Minnesota State University, Mankato respects the rights and privileges associated with the U.S. Constitution, including in this case the First Amendment right of freedom of speech and religion.
Hmm.
Nope, we're not doing shit. It's his right to say what he fucking wants.
Right, but he said it on Twitter, right?
It doesn't
So
fucking matter. That's his
I
opinion.
yeah, that's his opinion. So let him have his stupid opinion
Yeah.
and leave it at that. I
He
don't
didn't he didn't
understand the
bring the
problems
school
with.
into it.
Right, exactly. I mean, we're just gonna laugh at him on our show, and other people have laughed at him too, and that should be
I'm
the end of it.
laughing with his ass. I am. I'm laughing with him. I think it's just I'm more props to him for getting his 15 minutes of fame from having a profound
Yeah,
fucking
fuck it.
thought.
Right, who cares?
Who else was thinking that?
I mean, it looks like it was just like a mental and philosophical that he was going through, thinking out loud on Twitter. I mean, let him do what the fuck he's gonna. He's on his job. There's no reason for that.
I bet you there were a lot of people out there that thought about what he was saying and his frame of mind, and they thought, me too. I agree with that. Start a whole different me too. But anyway, so speaking of social media, John, Google has a well, I guess it's about to be defunct now. Google
Defunct.
Plus. Are you familiar with Google Plus? It's like Google's version of
Vaguely.
Facebook
Facebook.
ish.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
it's
fucking
more like their
awful.
version of MySpace. It was already dead when it hit the water.
Right.
Um,
Well,
so
MySpace was around for a while. It was,
yes,
the
but
MySpace was
now
around.
it's just now that goes to necromancy trying to revive MySpace, right?
Yeah.
But they had a security breach, and they uh, may have exposed a lot of people's information unknowingly for a little while. But they brought the CEO, and I believe, John, you said that you watched the CEO, part of the CEO,
So
talking to
yeah,
Congress, right?
full disclosure. I watched the live stream by another YouTuber called VEE, and so he was watching it live and he was commenting over it. So that's what I watched. And I was playing a video game or something, watching it, so it wasn't something that I committed 100% attention to. But it was really interesting. Um, but before we get too much into it, if you want to talk about it a little bit, I'm gonna go take a piss and grab another beer.
No, I don't want to talk about it a little bit.
Well, I mean, if you want to, kind of
I don't
catch
even
me.
like Google, even though Chrome is what I use all the time.
To be
And
fair, I
it
use
is my
Chrome as
search
well.
engine. It is my search engine of choice. I mean, it's well, you can
Yeah.
go ahead and go. I don't need you here for this. I guess go
All
ahead,
right.
run
Good.
away. I'll talk to Dante and Cameron and Midget B.
Yeah, you do
They
that.
like me. They want to
They
stay
do.
here with me. Are
All
they
right. I'll be
still in
right
the
back.
audience?
I hope so. I'll
Me
be
too.
right.
All right, but um, the Google is like so popular these days. It's so widely used. It has its own term. It has everything. It is Google. It is an entity of itself, in and of itself. But they didn't do so well with their social media platform. I don't know if anybody's actually like an active participant in Google Plus. I know I constantly get, hey, do you want to link your Google Plus account to this, that, and the other? And I do it sometimes just on the offhand. But it wasn't even associated with Chrome, and I think that would have been the bigger thing is if it had been associated with the browser itself, because I think that's much more widely used than Google Plus. But there were millions of people that were impacted by this unknowingly. So if you have anything private and personal on Google Plus, you might want to be concerned about your dick pics or whatever might be up there. I don't even know what they allow. But there was an interesting portion of the congressional testimony that he was having to give and the discussion he was having with them about Chrome itself and the algorithms that are used and whether or not the browser itself is actually being manipulated by people. And are you out of here, Cameron? Have a good night, sir.
Oh, see you, Cameron.
But so yeah, even Google Chrome came into question, though Google Plus was really the main area where they had their issue, and they wanted to, this was an interesting thing that they asked him as to uh, that why when you search for idiot in Google Chrome, does it show Donald Trump so prevalently? And they there were some Republicans that tried to make the argument that it was Democratic influence that was pressuring Google to make some, to adjust these algorithms or to manipulate by hand the search results for this. But he told them, he said they provide search today for any time you type in a keyword. We as Google have gone out and crawled and stored copies of billions of pages in our index, and we take the keyword and match it against the pages and rank them based on over 200 signals. Things like relevance, freshness, popularity, how other people are using it. And based on that, at any given time, we try to find the best results for that query. And just off that alone, I find it very easy to see why Trump would come up prevalently in a search for an idiot. Because
Yeah,
if
that's
you
fair.
follow his Twitter feed at all, in the replies, idiot is a common word used. I mean, it's a very common thing to see in his Twitter feed in the replies. But oh,
Oh,
he was.
gotcha.
Oh, I
Yeah,
got you. Oh,
Kevin.
good. Thank you. You're not leaving.
Yeah, no,
Thank God.
that's an inside joke.
Oh,
Saying that John is an inside joke. With my group of friends. So like
oh
anytime if
yes.
someone leaves, you just say, oh night, as if you're going to bed.
Yeah, I forgot about that. You tried to
Yeah.
educate me on
Well,
that,
I
but
mean, the show doesn't know,
oh, I did.
but
I forget things. I forget
yeah,
things.
you haven't been around in a while.
50 years old.
Yeah, you're ancient.
Yeah,
God damn.
yeah. But anyway, so it's not going to be surprising that idiot produces Trump, and they got a little bit of a chuckle out of it, and they were like, "Are you sure this isn't a man behind the curtain?" And he's like, "I can assure you, there's nobody sitting there manipulating searches." So the simple fact that he had to justify it, because of course, if Congress is actually asking you this question, you really have to be straightforward with it, that kind of thing, so you don't perjure yourself,
This
because
guy
nobody
was
wants
not
to lie to
straightforward.
Congress.
This guy was not straightforward at
No,
all.
well, no, but about
All
this
of
he may
his
have been.
all of his answers were very political, very like avoiding the actual question and just kind of answering with like, oh, we're gonna, so we always try to be fair with, we always try to, but he would avoid whatever question was being asked. It was ridiculous.
But
And
was
yeah,
it was any
John
of
said,
this something
who's
they should?
monitoring the monitors? Because it's a question, who's monitoring the monitors?
Right.
I mean, so it's all just, Google monitoring themselves, saying, "Oh, well, we looked into it and we were nothing wrong." You know, so
Well,
it's like, who can you really trust? Google or Google?
well, I mean, is it? I mean, is it just because there's a data breach, uh, or is there more? Like are they trying to? Are they going to bring every social media mogul uh, into account, and hold them to the fire because of what's been going on with Facebook? Is Facebook the impetus behind these questions that they're asking people now?
Well, so like there are some interesting things with, um, like if you type in, what is it? I think it's like European inventors or something like that. You'll get people who were not European to show up if you go to images. Um, Same with like if you type in like what is it? Shit, because it was the same guy V was about this.
So you're telling me she's not European? I mean, come on, John.
I don't know.
She looks
Is she
thoroughly
European?
European to me. Look at all these people.
White man stole my yeah.
Look
Impressive
at
European inventors. Yeah.
look at them all. I mean, Europe is a
Right. So
melting
there are
pot.
some. Well, it is now. Yeah.
Well, sure.
It certainly hasn't been.
Yeah. See, now is this more representative for you, excluding this guy? Is that a little better for you? I mean,
No, no, I don't have a problem with it. I'm just saying it's interesting when you type in certain results. I think another one was like it was like white family, or no, it was
do you know why
Democratic
this is,
family or
John?
something like that.
Do you know
It's
it's
because that's what people are looking for,
no?
right? It's what people are searching for, certain people, and they get searched enough times where
Ah,
showing up.
it's not that though. It's not that. And the reason I can tell you this is I used to work for a fella, and he had a company, and it was about creating web content.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that he and his other people in the field did was monitor Google algorithms.
Mm.
And the way to get your information to the top of the list with Google is to beat out the algorithm.
Yeah.
So, It's about density of keywords in pieces. It's about relevance to the topic. It's about originality of the content. Things like this, right? And Google regularly changes that algorithm and tweaks it. So these guys scramble to create content that, while it may be simply talking about a plumber in Poughkeepsie, it will rank as high as possible in Google based off of various searches. Now, one of the things that we used to do is we would take an article. As writers, we would take an article and we would spin it and respin it and respin it and respin it with maintaining keyword density, certain keywords, this, that, and the other, but create the same article 10, 20 times and then flood it out there, all so that we were putting enough content relevant to the topic to push these keywords, so that when anything similar or as close as possible to that keyword search was in Google, it would drive those articles, drive that seller, whatever they were pushing, up to the top. Searches don't mean shit except as much as in, what it pops up in your suggestions.
Fair enough. And two things. So one, I know you can also buy, um, like you can buy the ability to be shown first. So there was a small business owner in around where I live now, who I used to hang out at the shop over there all the time because loser. And but I was there in the shop. It was a video game shop when like the Google representative came in and they're like, "Hey, here's our prices. Like, you can, if you pay this much, we'll put you, at the top of search results if someone searches these keywords, and things like that." And so I know that's a factor. Who's paying to be at the top of the Google search results, which makes sense. I mean, if you want your business to be showing up, you can buy that privilege. That's fine. So I know that's a factor at the very least for search results for businesses. And I was also going to comment on what Midget B said. Is anyone concerned about monopoly? Absolutely. And we're going to be getting into that in a few moments when the deplatforming of certain YouTubers here soon. That is a huge issue.
Well,
we're definitely going to address that. But we're going to address.
Well, I mean, and we're talking, if you're talking about monopoly, we're talking about what, monopoly of search engine? I mean, what are we talking about here?
No, we're talking about the monopoly, Silicon Valley.
Oh.
And their ability to, like you said in a further comment, it's almost as though anyone using influence in election, almost as though Google could influence.
Yeah, I can understand. Dante, your question. Where's the generational shirts? I'm a medium. Nice. And see, we got a call for shirts. We get on top of that, John. You're in charge of marketing. Hey, Dante, how do you know that? Your question, how do you know that? What was that in regards to? I want to make sure.
That was in regards to you saying how you know how.
The reason why I know that is because the fella, he was considered a guru in his field, a content guru. He monitored, what was going on with Google's search algorithms from the standpoint of having to target content to beat it out. And so much so that in the time that I was working for him, we had a point in time where he was flipping out. Literally, he was writing letters to Google, pissed off that they were about to adjust their algorithm and very much making most of the content that he had produced and others were producing up to that point irrelevant when it came to searches, invalidating most of it to where all new content, and it was a great push for me. It was an opportunity for me to make quite a bit of money as we scrambled to create new content that was going to target this new algorithm and find a way to again, manipulate the content to get it where it needed to be in search results. So I was there to experience some of this happening and what people were actually trying to do. If you've web crawlers, back when this was going on, and this was. It was probably, I don't know, is anywhere between 10 and 14 years ago. Web crawlers were really big, where they were using web crawlers to go out on the internet and scan through content to find the relevant keywords. This was back before the SEO that we have nowadays, where it's just part of Google AdWords, but and it was going to make a lot of what the work had gone into. It was going to make a lot of that work just completely inconsequential, and people were just really flipping the fuck out when Google whipped out its new algorithm. But it was very interesting, and yes, so when they if he sits and he tells Congress that they don't manipulate shit.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
White power. But
whoa.
Once upon a time, I don't know. All you
That's
young
taken out of
kids,
context.
all you young kids in the audience that are looking for any kind of education. Once upon a time, that meant okay. That just said okay.
That just means okay.
Yeah, that's all it meant. It just meant okay. Everything's okay.
Yeah.
How are you doing? I'm okay. And now, it's fucked.
Because of the internet, because of 4chan.
Right?
Glorious bastards over there. I love 4chan.
But no, you will never hear me say that someone like the CEO of Google or the CEO of Facebook, any of these guys, they don't fucking manipulate us on a day-to-day basis.
Oh, yeah,
It's just start typing in just any random fucking search term and have your suggestions turned on, and it's very interesting to see what kind of shit pops up. I think there's actually some YouTube channels devoted to that.
Oh, I'm sure. But yeah, Dante was saying, wow, see, this is why I like you guys. I learned shit here. Yeah, man.
Ask Jeeves.
That,
oh, dear God. Is Ask Jeeves still around?
I don't know. Let's find out.
Oh, God.
I'll look
Jeeves. Ask Jeeves.
Yeah, ask.com.
Is that ask.com now?
Ask.com, yeah.
Oh, God.
Ask Jeeves,
I've done
Google
work for
search,
ask.com.
Ask
This was...
Oh, yeah.
So
there it is. AskJeeves.net.
Right? So when I used to...
But it's using Google. It uses Google, though. It says Google custom search. So it's the same shit.
Where are you seeing that? Am I not loading something on my page?
If you Google Ask Jeeves...
Oh, well, I didn't Google it. I just went to AskJeeves.com.
Yeah, no, it's AskJeeves.net. It's the third one down. Yeah, there it is. Ask Jeeves. But it uses Google. So, like, it's not any different. You're going to get the same results.
Oh, I got... I don't know how to use Google. Just FYI.
Yeah, clearly. But no, I would recommend people... Yeah, I was going to say...
Oh, well, see, now this is different, though. So Ask Jeeves got so unpopular it had to go to .net because it used to be AskJeeves.com.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I agree with Midget B. Like I said, DuckDuckGo is the way to go.
DuckDuckGo. Isn't that the one you can use to get on the dark web, too? Isn't that the one they suggest that you use with the Tor browser to get on the dark web? See, that's why I don't do it, because,
We don't talk about that. But just don't have the Tor browser and you make it web.
Yeah, but the Tor browser is the only smart way to be on the internet.
Well, I mean, like, you just use a VPN. It'll pretty much be okay. I mean, as long as you're not doing something crazy.
I don't know what a VPN is, John. Is that a new car?
Yes, it's a new car.
See, Firefox. See, have you now? They've started running commercials. Have you seen any of the Firefox commercials lately?
I don't give a fuck about Firefox. Let's talk about the spooky dark web. So yeah, the dark web is kind of spooky.
No.
New car. Yeah, no, this dark web is kind of spooky because my roommate, your cousin, Robert, went on the dark web one time and got a virus that fucked up the entire network. Like our entire network. So it's not you might want to go there with protection,
Just FYI, I don't believe the dark web is that dark anymore. Like, as far as, hidden. It's become so commonplace now that people are exploring that topic.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think the Silk Road got taken down.
It's more like the dim web now.
which is the Silk Road got taken down. I'm pretty sure,
I don't
which
even
is
know what
where you
that
could buy
was.
like
Oh,
where
the
you could
weed.
buy like all kinds of drugs. Yeah, like whatever you wanted, you could ship it.
But like
Right,
these
but I'm pretty sure
YouTubers
that
who are
got
going
taken
on the
down.
dark web and buying mystery boxes. What a bunch of fucking idiots.
Oh, that's fun though.
Watching it, yeah, but not doing
Yeah,
it. God damn,
yeah.
that's just
Fuck that.
stupid. I mean,
I'm not giving anybody my address over there.
see, I agree with Dante.
Silk Road
The
was
the
ran by
dark web is much more monitored than you think now.
yeah.
And interestingly enough, the House of Cards that's on
Oh God.
Netflix, right? They
Hmm.
reference the dark web multiple times in that show,
Yeah.
and things like that just make it more mainstream to where, like I said, it's not really the dark web anymore. It's more the dim web, like
Yeah.
it's so if you're dumb enough to go out there looking for child pornography or drugs, well, you're a fucking idiot. You're just
Because
an
they're gonna
idiot. You're
find your ass.
asking
Yeah.
for it, right? Because it's
Yeah.
no holds bar there. It's even the fucking cops and everybody can get away with what they want on there. They'll just fucking do shit.
Yeah. There's apparently some identity protection company that like monitors the dark web
Bad shows use it as a
for
jail
like
get out of jail free card. Nice.
yeah. I see that. But yeah,
I
dark web.
you know where I think the true dark web is though.
Back in my day, the
You had a
dark web
day.
was 4chan. Yeah, 4chan was the dark web back in the day
You know
before
I
Tor.
still I know as much about 4chan as I do 3chan.
Yeah, there was no 3chan. It was like 2chan and then 4chan,
John,
and then there's
having
like
you explain it
8chan.
kind of kills my point.
I'm sorry. I'll stop explaining things. And yes, I had a day, Dante. It was a Wednesday, as a matter of fact.
In his one day,
Hmm.
when he was 3 and he first discovered his pee-pee.
Yeah, that sounds about
Was
right.
that a Wednesday?
Probably. I'd have to ask my parents.
Hump day is the best day to find your winky.
Yeah, fair enough.
Um, but I believe that the dark web actually actually exists in Europe, and it's called Brexit.
Brexit.
That's the dark web.
Yeah, the
That's
dark
the
web.
scary. What do you think, John?
I can't wait for the Frexit to happen. That's gonna be great.
Is France thinking about it?
France. The people in France want it to happen,
They
but the
just want
government
lower
does not.
taxes on their gas. I mean, Jesus
I know, right?
Christ.
What fucking assholes who don't want to be taxed out of like out of house and home. How crazy!
Well, and I don't know if you've seen the Orange
Oh
Man's
man,
tweets. He's been real big about saying, they're
I don't give
saying
a
we
fuck
want
about the
Trump.
orange man's. I don't give a fuck about the orange man's
Well,
tweets.
in
I
regards
like
to
the
France, he
people.
thinks they're asking for Trump to come over and take over in France.
Yeah, you might as well. We'll just make France a colony.
All
It'll be
right. Weren't they once? No? Okay.
It'll come full circle.
Yeah, Russia will step in and they'll handle them.
No, we'll colonize the UK. We'll colonize France, and it'll be fine.
So, John, why don't you give us a little input on what's been going on with the whole fun Brexit thing? Because I feel
Yeah.
bad for Theresa May. Is
Oh
it
my
Theresa
gosh.
May? Is that her name? She got a
Yes, that
name?
is her name, Theresa May. Don't feel bad for her in the slightest. She's an elitist
But she's
cunt.
British.
Yeah,
British people are
barely.
nice. No, she's
She's
German, isn't
barely
she?
British.
Is she
No,
German
that's
or
Angela.
British?
That's Angela Merkel. You're thinking of
Oh, Merkel
Theresa
is the
May is
German.
yeah.
So Theresa May
She's
be
Empress
British.
Palpatine. Yeah, Theresa May. Obviously the Prime Minister of the UK at this point, and apparently for at least another year, because there was a vote of no confidence
In
and
what?
in her ability to lead the UK in Brexit. And so, if it had passed, she would have been removed from office, and someone else would have been appointed or voted. I'm not sure exactly,
So let me get this
but
straight. Sorry to interrupt you, but I want to make sure I
no, you're
get this
not.
straight. Brexit is the deal she's made for Brexit is extremely bad
Yes,
for the
absolutely.
UK,
Nobody likes it.
whether in
Nobody likes it.
politics or the common man. Nobody likes it for
Right.
the most part, right?
For the most part, right?
And yet
Definitely.
she still lived through a vote of no confidence.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't
I
get
mean,
that.
I don't know all the about it, right? I can give you a general sense of kind of what's going on. I'm sure I'll get some help from Midget B. I know he keeps tabs on it as well. Um, but basically, what her deal, the deal that she's been trying to push through, was that they're going to give the EU the 39 billion pound or 39 billion euro, one of those two, to the EU on their way out, and then also that they would still be out of the EU, but they would have to still abide by their laws and still, and still have all the benefits of being in the EU. And the people who are Brexiteers are saying that's not why we voted to leave. We didn't vote to leave to become a vassal state, basically, and that's what they would become, where they would have no voting rights in the EU Parliament, and they would have no say in anything,
But they'll
but
pay for it.
they would still pay for it and they would still abide by. So it's a terrible deal all around, except for the EU. Benefit the EU in every way and grew over the UK, and that's why people are pissed off about her, with her. So the most like agreed with like deal is a hard Brexit. Just we're just gonna leave. We're gonna say fuck you. And we're just gonna leave the EU. And the reason why a lot of them like Trump now is because he said if the EU cuts off trade with you, we will trade with you, and we will give you a really good deal on trade. And so when the people who are worried about the people who are worried about the economy of the UK and they can't trade with the EU don't have to worry about it as much. To trade with the US and I mean anyone else who's not in the EU. But the thing is, their biggest trade partners are the other EU nations, and so that's basically where they're at. And with I think the deadline is March 29th of next year for them to come up with a deal because they're leaving no matter what at the end
Right.
of March next year.
Is it
And so, go ahead.
is it possible that she lived through the vote of no con simply because the law is in place already and that can't be fixed, that they can't reverse the law, that that's the legislation that said that they're going to withdraw from the EU, so it's better to remain with what we've got and let her keep trying to handle this fucking thing and try and swear than to oust her.
Um, yeah, I mean, again, I'm not 100. I cut it, European. I just kind of have followed it in a peripheral sense. Um, but yeah, I mean, as far as I've seen, and Midget B makes a good point here. Let's remember that several German companies appealed to Mama Merkel that the UK not be fucked by the EU, them being the largest consumer of German goods, and that's true. So it actually behooves the EU to not fuck the UK, and it seems like they want to do that anyway.
But is
But
it really? I don't know. And that's what I'm trying to wrap my head around. Is this the EU trying to fuck the UK, or is it the UK just not getting a good deal? Like not doing it the
yeah,
right
well, that's
way?
what
Is
it
it
is.
on May for not doing it the right way, or is she just
It is on May.
capitulating to pressure from the EU?
Right, both. It's on May to come up with a good deal, and she came into the Brexit deal with from a position of strength, and she just started capitulating left and right, just saying, like we'll give you this, we'll give you that, we'll give you this, we'll give you that, and trying to compromise. But the EU is saying, no, we're not going to compromise. Here's the deal. That's it. Give us the money, become a vassal state. They didn't say it in those words, but that's pretty much what's happening. Give us our money, become a vassal state, and you're fine. And so nothing would really change except for name, except for the UK would not be considered a EU country.
Well, I think I have to agree with Midget overall, like where he says, "Let's go with option four, no deal." So yeah,
Yeah,
don't
no
don't have
deal.
a deal. They're still going to pull
Right.
out of the EU one way or the other. So they might
Hard
as well go
Brexit.
with no deal.
Hard Brexit is the prevailing opinion in the UK right now. Most people want no deal. Just say fuck it and wipe our hands clean and we're done.
And so we're not in the EU. We don't pay them any money,
And
and then
right,
they're
we're not gonna
free
pay
to
their
trade
dues.
with any country in the EU they want because they're now a sovereign entity, right?
Right. But that's up to the EU whether or not they. But it would behoove them to do so because the UK was the second biggest benefactor, or not benefactor, contributor to the EU. They paid more money than everyone else except for Germany into the EU. So it would behoove the EU to trade with the UK.
Well, of
Otherwise, you're
course.
just going to lose a shitload of money.
So then then I'm correct in the understanding that if Germany wants to trade with the UK after they're out of the EU, whether the deal goes through or not,
Yeah.
they have to get approval from the EU. So now the
Well,
EU can put
so
sanctions on trade with the UK.
the reason that Angela Merkel is called Empress Palpatine is because she is the EU. She is the European Union. So it's really up to her. I mean, because she has so much influence because of how much money Germany gets, that whatever she says pretty much goes. I mean, they vote on it, but she has a massive amount of influence.
So I guess in from a layman's mindset and perspective, ultimately, if German companies want to trade with the UK, then the EU can ostracize them as a whole for doing so without their approval. Ultimately,
Wait,
is that correct?
wait, you're saying ultimately they can?
Without if Germany wants to trade with the UK and it goes against the wishes of the EU because there was no deal in place, they just left the EU. And
Yeah,
Germany wants to trade with them, does that mean that they have to suffer repercussions from the EU as a whole,
I doubt it.
or
I doubt it
can
because,
they
like I
just go
said,
about business as usual?
yeah, they can probably do whatever they want because, like I said, they are the EU. Germany contributes more than anyone else to the EU, so no one wants to piss off Germany.
Okay, so what about other countries? So France, any.
France is fucked.
But I mean, but from that
Yeah.
standpoint, do they have to capitulate to the EU and as far as their dealings with the UK as
So
well?
France is
So
probably
every
going
country in the
to.
EU has to answer to the EU before they trade with the UK once they're out of the EU.
Right. Yeah, they're gonna have to go through whatever hoops they have to go through. I'm not, like I said, I'm not 100%,
They got to do a
familiar
lot of
with
that.
how their bureaucracy. I don't know all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I can see that.
But yeah, exactly.
Whatever happened to just countries being their own country and having some fucking balls?
No, sovereignty is racist and
Is it?
homophobic, and
Is that
yeah,
what it is?
yeah,
Sovereignty sucks.
sovereignty is not acceptable in this day and age. I remember back in what was it, like 2000, maybe 6 or 7, back
You
when I
can
was into
remember
like
that far?
kind of, uh, because I like to follow like a lot of conspiracy uh YouTube videos and stuff. YouTube in that time, and I still do, but like it's just fun to entertain. I don't believe necessarily any of it, but it's just fun to entertain. But they were talking about how North America was going to do kind of what the EU was doing and make it like one super state of Canada, the U.S., and Mexico. They're going to have their own currency and all that kind of crap. So they're kind of doing the same thing as the EU is doing. Didn't work out though. Apparently, it hasn't happened.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think there's enough. I think there's enough differences between the three countries that would be kind of difficult.
Yeah. I mean, there's still a big difference between like the French and the Germans, like culturally, you
Yeah.
know. I mean, there's a big difference between all like the French and the English. I mean, look at them; like they've been at war since the beginning of time, you know.
Well, I don't think
But they still came together in the EU for a little while.
doing the NAU would not be. It wouldn't be in the best interest of America. Only Canada
No,
and
it's certainly
Mexico
not.
would benefit from that.
Not only that, really, only Mexico would.
Well, Canada, I mean, look at.
Canada does its own thing. Canada just
Sure.
chills. Like, they don't fuck with anybody. They don't,
Yeah, but if
they
from a
don't fuck with poor
monetary
Canada.
standpoint, it would pay off in Canada, because of
Sure.
course part of the EU was going to the euro, right? That was making that consistent
The currency.
currency across the board. Well, that would happen in the NAU as well. So even Canada would stand to benefit from that standpoint, because they're still their money is less valuable than ours as well. Not as
Um,
much as,
they, I
yeah.
thought Canada. I thought the Canadian dollar was more now. Maybe I know it was for a
Oh
while.
wait,
I'm not sure what it is now.
no, because oh, you're right. It is a little bit more, because it is now because of the euro standard,
Mm.
going against that. Yes, it is a little bit more for them. So yeah, they don't stand to benefit, but we don't want free health care. So we would be at
Right.
odds there. That would be why we don't want them involved. In Mexico, we don't need the donkey shows. I don't think they're legal here, are they?
No, they're not. Certainly not legal.
That's what you're going to be doing in Mexico, going to donkey shows. I know you are, John. You
Yeah,
got
yeah.
it. You
We
want to
talked
see it
about.
just once, don't you?
Well, we talked about that in
Shooting the shit.
the shit episode right over here. Yeah, I'm planning a trip to Mexico. Uh, I think at the end of February, beginning of March. So yeah, that's gonna be fun.
He's
But as far as I know, there's no donkey shows where I'm going. So
John. It's Mexico. There's donkey shows everywhere.
I don't
If
know.
there's a
I don't.
donkey, there's a show.
That's true.
All you need
As
is a
long as
donkey.
as
Well,
long as there's a donkey.
see, thank you, Dante, for your donkey.
Yep, little donkey emoji.
See, since they cut off the back end, everything but the head, you can't say whether that's a donkey or a horse. So we'll go with
Yeah,
donkey.
it kind of looks more like a horse.
No, it's a donkey with a mohawk. Duh.
Wait, is it? No, it's a mule, right? That's like a between a donkey and a horse. It's like a inbreeding between donkeys and horses. Pretty sure that's what a mule is.
The donkey is smaller. I thought so. I was thinking it was the mule and the horse make the donkey, but I think you might be right, unless you're
I think
wrong.
I'm pretty sure I'm right. I usually am most of the
Which one's the jackass?
time. The jackass?
Yeah,
The
is it
donkey.
donkeys are considered jackasses, right?
Yeah, the donkey. Yeah.
All right.
Also,
So I was thinking
frigates
that
back
was.
in the day. There were uh, there were two types of frigates back in the Age of Sail. There was a jackass frigate, and there was a.
I think it also refers to my co-host. But
It might.
anyway,
I'll give you that.
so well, so sad for Theresa May. I don't know, man. This the whole
Yeah, fuck her.
is it. How does it affect us though? Ultimately, what do we
Really?
stand to lose or gain from Brexit happening?
So Brexit in itself doesn't, but the implications of one major country, especially the second biggest contributor to the EU leaving, paves the way for more countries leaving, which means a dissolution of the EU over time. So that could have economic benefits, or like economic consequences
For
for us
us?
in the future. Yeah, it
Hmm.
certainly could. Well, because it has to do with the laws that are in place in the
Gotcha.
EU. It's one law overall. Whereas once those countries have their own sovereignty, they can come up with their own laws, and they may or may not do, may or may not have trade with us, or may not, you know, have certain laws, whatever it is. Right? There's certain consequences that are going to happen with it. So, I mean, it will impact us, but whether or not it'll be a serious impact remains to be seen.
So I guess ultimately the question comes down to who do we as America need to nuke to handle the situation?
Who do we need to
Ultimately, just
nuke?
yeah, because I mean that's the
Um,
easiest answer, right? Just
I
nuke
think I
somebody
think we need
and
to nuke. We need to nuke Canada. That's what we need to. That's what we need to nuke. You know, they're just up there all
What
smug
is your
with their
problem
maple
with
syrup.
Canadians?
Listen, they just sit up there.
Have
They're
you
all
ever
smug.
had a beaver tail?
No, I haven't. You know why? 'Cause I'm an American. Goddammit. All right.
Nice. Facebook. Wait, you're an
I don't
American.
drink any damn maple syrup.
So you don't eat
Or that
Chinese food?
bullshit. I don't have any snow. You know
Do you
why?
eat Chinese food?
No.
Lie? You fucking lying piece of shit.
No, fuck their soda. Fuck
We need
Royal.
some...
Fuck RC
Wait, do they?
soda.
What
Get the
soda?
fuck
What
outta
soda
here.
do they make?
Royal Crown RC soda.
Oh, RC.
Yeah. You know what I do like though? I'll admit. I like what is it? Seagram? No, not Seagrams. Yeah. Seagrams is Canadian, right?
Seagram's. Well, I know Canadian Mist is.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about the whiskey.
Duh, it's in the name.
Yeah.
Canadian Mist.
But
I thought
also-
Canadian Mist was whiskey.
No, Canadian Mist is a like alternative, I guess.
Alternative to what, John?
7-Up. It's like a Sprite or like a 7-Up.
No,
kinda deal.
John. No, John.
Canadian Mist.
See this?
Isn't it?
Canadian Mist. Canadian whiskey. Duh.
Wait, what?
You thought it was fucking
Yeah.
Sierra Mist? Get the fuck out of
Oh,
here.
Sierra Mist. Yeah, Canadian Mist. Yeah. I got
Jesus
that.
Christ.
I got fucked up. No. What's the other one though? There's another Canadian whiskey or some kind of alcohol. What is it? Oh fuck. Crown Royal. Crown Royal.
That's Canadian?
It's the other one. Yeah.
Canada
Crown
Dry.
Royal is
Canada Dry is the ginger ale.
Yeah.
Is
ginger
Crown
ale.
Royal Canadian?
Crown Royal? Yeah.
Wow, look, it's a suggested search.
Yeah.
Damn. Oh, that would really fuck up our economy
No,
if
fuck
anything
that,
happened with
dude.
Canada. You want to get rid of Crown Royal?
Yeah.
You're
fuck Crown
a god.
Royal.
Treason.
Jameson.
Treason.
All the way. Jameson.
Treason. Treason.
Nope.
Treason.
You have Jameson.
Pretty.
With
Pink.
Jack Daniels.
Pink. This makes some of the best. What is it? Pretty Pink Panties. I think is the drink. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a good drink there made with Crown Royal. We don't want to fuck with that unless we
you can
move
just
it
have
here.
Or you can have an all-American drink like a Jack and 7 and 7, Seagram 7 and 7-Up. That's all American drinks we can have. Or if you want to go foreign, I mean, Jameson and Sprite is really good.
You know me. You know what I go for.
Vodka. Or no, you go for you like what is that shitty Disaronno?
Oh, damn it! I put the E on there. I took the
Yeah.
E.
I know you
No,
like
no. I like
Disaronno, too.
Disaronno as just a sipper, but if I'm drinking,
Absolute vodka.
and not a Russian vodka, by the way. Thank you.
Have you ever had Russian Standard? It's
No.
actually pretty decent.
I don't like those.
vodka at
I don't
all.
like
I
communist
absolutely hate vodka.
alcohol, John. I don't like it.
Oh, bullshit.
I don't like communist alcohol.
That's true. We don't need Drake anymore. We can send him back. We can send him and Justin Bieber. We don't need them.
I don't know why we brought Justin Bieber here in the first place.
Yeah. The last good thing to come out of Canada is Rush. That's it. Everyone else can go. Rush can
God,
stay.
I haven't sniffed Rush in like forever.
Well,
Wait, are you talking about the band or the drug?
yes, I'm talking about the band, obviously.
You know, there
The
used
best band
there
to
used
ever
to be
live on the face of the planet. Rush.
they used to bottle head cleaner. You remember video cassette tapes?
Yes.
Well, the head cleaner. They used to bottle that. And I forget what the chemical is, and they would bottle it. It was called Rush. And you'd take your little bottle into the clubs with you, and you'd sit there and you just whiff the vapors and get yourself a head rush while you were dancing and have a good time. So,
Yeah, whatever.
But I don't think it was Canadian.
Probably not. It's
I don't think it
probably
was.
Colombian.
I think it was all American, bro. To be honest with you, it's either that or maybe the Chinese. Whoever came up with cassette tapes, they wanted to clean them too.
Yeah.
But so let me ask you then. But does this that's GHB. So with Brexit happening, does that not mean that it's possible that does this not leave the door open for the EU itself to deplatform any country that it sees fit as well?
But deplatform in what way? I know you're trying
Well,
to segue,
like bump
but
somebody out of the EU if they want to,
well, no,
like
that's the thing is they want everyone to be in the EU.
even the
They don't want to
UK.
kick people out. Yes, they want to keep the UK in.
I mean, because I would think by now they're looking at him as a spoiled little brat. Fucking get out.
No,
We're taking you out of here.
no, that's not at all what's going on. They desperately want them to stay in. Like I said, they're the second biggest contributor after Germany. So they're going to lose all that money going in, which they are trying to keep afloat the Eastern European countries who can't do it by themselves.
So kind of
Which is
like
why,
NATO and the United States,
yeah, I guess you can make that comparison. Yeah,
according to what we're
there's a lot of
told.
differences. Well, there's a lot of differences between the actual functionalities of those two
Well, sure,
entities,
but
but
it's in a looser sense of it, we
yeah.
contribute more money to NATO than any other country in the world, and so but we don't get the lion's share of the voice, or do we? You know,
Oh well, we certainly do. Yeah, the U.S. is the like uncontested hegemon of the world. No one's gonna fuck with us.
head cleaner is GHB. They call it water. GHB. I thought
What is GHB? I'm not familiar.
what is GHB?
Maybe he'll tell us in about 20 seconds when he hears this. Yeah, dude, seriously, Midget B, you gotta come on the show for New Year's. So here's my official asking you to come on the show. Do it. GHB.
A hole.
I
Wait,
got. I
is he
think he's
calling
referring
somebody an a hole, or is he just saying
maybe
it?
the a hole, like it's an hole,
Wait, I'm confused.
liquid. I don't know.
He's
Anti-sleep.
calling you an a hole.
I don't doubt it. Yeah. After that, I'll see him
Maybe
on
that's
Sunday,
me. Maybe
and
it's me.
I'll give him one
Yeah,
fair on
gamma hydroxy butyrate,
Sunday. Hmm.
liquid ecstasy. But now, see,
Ooh,
I don't
liquid
know.
ecstasy.
Hold on. See,
I enjoyed some ecstasy back in the day. Obviously, at a time where it was past uh, the statute of limitations, clearly. But I've been known to
I don't
enjoy
want
some
to.
of
I don't
that.
want a fucking song or
Oh, your
group.
body falls into a hole. I don't know about. I've never experienced falling into a hole. I'm out of beer now. God damn it! This always
Poppers.
happens.
This is what I'm talking about.
Oh, poppers.
Yeah, and they would have then the one that most people they would the brand name on what most people were using was called Rush. Um,
Mm,
chemical alkyl nitrates inhaled for recreational drug purposes, typically for the high or rush that the drug can produce.
right.
Um, I know what Midget's talking about. He's talking about basically talking about
The chemical that's.
ecstasy, right? The
Oh
chemical
yeah.
ecstasy. But this was alkyl nitrates. This stuff, this fuck your head up. You did too much of this. You sniffed too much of this shit. It would fuck your head. Look at me.
Yeah, it's
Need I
true.
say more?
Yeah, no, you don't. Please
Need I
don't.
say
In
more?
fact.
But Dante's kind of right. Your body falls into a hole. It was like K-holing or whippets. Anybody? Whippets? Whippets?
No, but
You're
I
not
will
familiar
tell
with
you
you're not familiar
when
with
I was
whippets?
when I know I'm familiar with them,
Oh,
but
okay.
I've never done it. But I'm familiar with the concept. But when I was in military school, there was this one kid who would like do all kinds of inhalants and stuff. And so like he comes into my room one morning and he's like, "Hey man, do you have any Axe body spray?" And I was like, "Yeah, like if you want to use it, like yeah." And he takes my robe and like he puts it on the inside and like inhales like half the can through the robe as like a filter. And like he's like
It's like huffing paint, man.
like that, and I was like, "What the fuck? Like, what are you doing? Like, that's expensive as fuck."
Most of them,
And like, he was just like, "Oh, thanks," and then like gave it back to me almost empty. And I'm like, really? Like,
I'm
couldn't have asked.
popping this up because Dante
Like, I didn't know
commented
that's
on
needed.
it, but
Like, I
it
thought he
is
was just gonna
true.
spray himself. But yeah.
Um, they are good for things besides butt sex. They actually
Oh
can
God,
clean your heads on your
Vice.
VHS.
And the poppers are good for things besides butt sex. Whatever, who
It's
cares?
true. Well, they were very popular in gay clubs.
Ah,
They
you
were,
would know all about that. I'll defer to you, the resident homo.
yeah, that's what my wife says too. Um, but so anyway, yeah, they. How do we get on this? Why did you bring it up?
I didn't bring it up. You
Oh,
guys are
we were
bringing it
talking about stuff, but I don't think it was Canadian. But anyway, which leads back to maple syrup and pancakes, and
up.
that's just a road we don't want to go down.
It might be.
But anyway, so Brexit gonna happen. Nothing we can do about it. Poor Theresa May. Blah 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 blah. Fucking commie UK's. It's just, aren't they communists now?
The UK? No, they're socialist.
John, it was a joke.
No, no, but they're actually
Learn
they're
to
actually
laugh at yourself
what? I
and your
can.
communist comrades.
Oh, I do. I laugh at Jay all the time.
Ah, Joe. All right. So, John, at any point, if you want to segue into the next topic, you can do that because
um,
I.
shit. Because I was gonna take a piss and get another beer, but
Jesus
'cause
Christ,
we
John.
spent a lot of time on this last topic, and
Whose
I gotta
fault
leave.
is that? Oh, we're almost done. So
Your
let's
fault.
not talk about anything else.
Right. So that's what I'm saying.
You
We
just
have
want
we
to end
have
the show
time.
and not talk about how
Oh
YouTubers are
no, no,
being
we can talk
deplatformed,
about
you
that.
son of a bitch.
We can talk about that. What I'm saying is, take a piss and grab a beer.
Commuments. Nice, Dante. Nice.
Arguments. Yeah.
Commuments. You could have been back by now. So I'll just
But
have
see,
to sit.
the thing is about commuments,
What are
right? Is
commuments?
that you're not equal in the chat. See, Midget B has that wrench right there. That means he has the power to stop you from commenting ever again. So there's no equality in the chat. There's actually a hierarchy. So
But don't
communist
we? But doesn't the buck
comments do
stop
not
with
happen.
us?
I mean, yeah, we could take the wrench away. So there's even
See?
yet more hierarchy.
So it's like you're Donald Trump and I'm Putin, and we get to say what happens. What?
Don't worry about it, Dante. Don't worry about it. But I am gonna go piss and
You're
grab
not
a
back
beer.
already? Jesus, John, get a
No,
bottle and just
I'll be
keep it
right.
under your fucking desk. I've pissed
I
my
was still ha-
pants 3 times sitting here, just FYI,
Well,
because I
that's your
care.
problem.
I
I'm not
care.
gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. So if you want to introduce the next topic, and then I'll.
The one that I don't know that much about?
Well, you have the tweets and stuff. Whatever, you'll figure it out.
Wow, John, you just leave everything to me, so I have to sit here and look like a dumbass? Fucking Marilyn Manson loving. But anyway, so yeah, Popper's better for other things than just butt sex. Midget B, can you attest to that? Anyway, so moving on, we're gonna actually be talking a little bit about some of our fellow YouTubers. Well, I say fellow YouTubers. These are people that actually have popularity versus what we have, which I like to think is popularity, but really it's just 19 subscribers, and we're hoping that all of those are real subscribers. But it appears that some very specific individuals in the YouTube community were deplatformed from Patreon. And one of the protagonists that has been making a lot of waves in this is Tim Squirrel. He has his PhD from Edinburgh University, and he seems to be quite the outspoken, I guess, leaning a little bit somewhere in the idiocy sector of the spectrum. He seems to lean a little towards the religious, but he does not like what these guys have to say, and he has been following closely their deplatforming from Patreon, and then their subsequent move to what is the name? The name of the subscriber? What, John?
Subscribe Star.
Subscribe Star.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about what you know about this. Their deplatforming and how Tim Squirrel, which is an amazing name for a
Tiny Tim
very
Squirrel. Yeah, it's pretty.
our Tiny Tim. God, my eyes! I need to get new glasses.
Yeah. So basically, what happened was there was a mass exodus out of Patreon, which I don't know if he covered it while I was gone, but it's basically a platform for people to support the content creators that they enjoy, whether it be on YouTube or Tumblr or Instagram, whatever. Right? If someone does something you like, you can support them there by giving them money, and then they'll give you something in return that's exclusive to the people who will support them there. And so what happened was, in the last week, really big names were taken off the platform, being like Milo Yiannopoulos, uh, uh, James Alsop, and of course Sargon of Akkad, which was actually the biggest, I guess the biggest name, the catalyst, I would say, to the mass exodus, because once he was deplatformed, everyone started leaving. So even people who had nothing to do with it, people still on uh, Patreon, the people who followed them and supported them would say, "Hey, I'm leaving Patreon. I don't trust them with my money, and I'm leaving." So people were losing all kinds of supporters, and so it started this mass exodus. And the most people went over to Subscribestar, and Subscribestar is a competitor of Patreon that just started up in the past few months. And so now everyone has started moving over there. And so when you have high profile people moving over there, you're going to have all the supporters move over there. And Patreon, uh, I don't know. I don't think it was actually Patreon itself. I'm going to be fair. I don't think it was actually Patreon. It was this guy mostly, Tiny Tim Squirrel, who was responsible for that, for what happened in with Subscribestar being with PayPal asking them not to use their service. So PayPal asked Subscribestar not to use their service, which means that they have other options, but PayPal is the biggest one, and so it's causing a little bit of problems. So we saw what happened with Gab.ai um, when they got deplatformed, because everyone who was being banned on Twitter and banned on Instagram or Tumblr or YouTube went over to Gab.ai, and then when the competition started gaining notoriety, they get shut down by the people at Silicon Valley, the main Twitter and Facebook, Tumblr, PayPal, especially PayPal. And so this has been a recurring like feature of what's been going on. And Midget B is right when he says it because he was banned for no reason. There's a precedent being set that scared everyone away. That's absolutely true.
Well,
I
now
mean,
just
it was because people couldn't trust Patreon anymore, because anyone could be taken off the site for any reason, regardless of what their behavior was on Patreon or off Patreon. Or people stopped trusting them, and not only that, but it was also with the whole like porn being taken off of Tumblr, and uh, so that moved over to Patreon, and they started getting rid of like the cosplayers, started getting rid of um, like the artist who would draw like risque drawings and things like that. Those people got removed as well at around the same time. It's not really talked about as much, but they got removed at around the same time.
who
And
pulls
so,
Patreon strings?
who pulls Patreon
Yeah,
strings?
like who's
PayPal is a big one. I believe Mastercard,
do they have
which I think goes through Patreon PayPal. I mean,
do they
so
have a mother company?
A mother company? No. I think Patreon is just Patreon. But it's the people that they're around. It's the other Silicon Valley companies who put pressure on them to take people off. Yeah, if you want to read that for everyone.
Patreon was founded in May 2013 by artist Jack Conte, who looked for a way to make a living from his popular YouTube videos. Together with Sam Yami, developed a platform that allows patrons to pay a set amount of money every time an artist creates a work of art.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it was founded by a YouTuber, yet they deplatformed YouTubers and others.
Right.
But
And
now,
they try to say it's not based on ideology, but if you look at who's being deplatformed and who's allowed to stay,
but
the no, because the standards are not consistent
they
at
gave a
all.
reason why they dropped
They
Sargon,
gave a
right?
reason, but it was not a legitimate. So it's a legitimate reason if that's their term of service, but it's not. So he did not break their terms of service, and was removed anyway. Whereas other people who have done the same exact thing are allowed to stay on there, but they're not as high profile, right? It was clearly and it's clearly ideologically based, and it's clearly targeting him. And among the other people, Milo and James Alsop, who it was clearly based on that, as opposed to you know, just like applying the standards across the board.
Well,
You know what I mean? It wasn't about
sure, but let
it
me
wasn't
ask.
about breaking the rules. It was about who they are and what they represent.
So, devil's advocate here,
Mm-hmm.
um, from the standpoint of, as you mentioned, terms of service,
Yeah.
um, isn't it? Doesn't it go without saying that any private entity has the right to interpret their terms of service and choose who they do and don't allow?
Yeah, absolutely. But then the problem becomes because that's the whole reason they went to Subscribestar, right? That's they moved over there, and then what happened to Subscribestar? As soon as it started becoming popular, they are now being targeted, and they are being down. Not shut down yet, but I guarantee the next week or so, their domain host will take them down.
But this
You
is just
watch, it's gonna happen.
this is an example of social pressure. Just like, I mean, it
Yeah,
goes. We see it in so many different ways.
yeah,
We
but
talked about
that's
it
the thing
last
is
week with Kevin Hart.
right,
Social
exactly. There can
pressure
be
of
right.
his
There can
past
be no
actions.
competition. That's the thing is that they try and shut down competition. These main like Silicon Valley tech companies try
But
and
isn't
shut
that the nature
down
of business?
competition. No, it's not the nature of business
I
because they're
mean,
they're doing it. They're not doing it because like oh we're better. We offer a better product. It's not we offer something better. It's not competition. It's that these people are hosting people that we don't like. We are going to, and it's not even the companies themselves. Like Patreon did subscribe stuff, right? It was this asshole, Tiny Tim Squirrel, who's mainly responsible. But among others, it's not just him, right? But it's among others. So it's we see that these people that we don't like are taken off this platform, and they found another one. It's not acceptable. We need to get them off of that too. We can't have them be supported by anybody. It's social engineering. It's
okay,
saying we can't have these people that we don't like being allowed to be anywhere. We have to everywhere we see them. And he's not getting money from Patreon. This tiny Tim
a
Squirrel
month
guy.
later, paying Antifa.
He, yeah, he's not getting any fucking money. Like he's just doing it because he's virtuous. It's according to him the right thing to do.
But that's the nature of the social beast these days. That's how it's
Well,
all.
yeah, of
That's
course
how
it
it's
is.
all working. I mean,
Right, which
everybody
is
has to
bad.
conform to the small minority of social voices
Right,
that
which is not a
want.
good thing.
Well, I mean, I understand it's not a good thing, but I mean, it's shit. It's the dangerous road, that the path that we're following. Should we become more popular, hopefully one of these days,
Hmm.
what we're saying is controversial and people will get us
Right.
shut down. No matter what
Right.
platform we're on, they will try and
Right.
do
So
it.
what do we do? Let's pinpoint the principle here. What do we do in that case? Do we capitulate and do we just start, oh, let's just talk about, Star Trek nerd shit like we did in the shooting the shit, or do we talk about the things that need to be talked about, consequence, right? I mean, what do we do in that case? And
Well, I agree
honest,
with you. That's what we do. We continue doing what we're doing, but
but that's going to have serious financial consequences, and that's what I'm saying, is that if we nip it in the bud now and defend people who are being deplatformed, regardless if we agree with them, defending people that are being deplatformed now, that paves the way for a better, financial situation for us down the road.
I
And
think
that's the
this.
whole point of the principle. That's the whole point of defending someone else's
I think there's a
rights
smarter
is to
solution to
secure
this.
your own.
I think there's a smarter solution.
What's that?
A simple solution. Say we get popular. Instead of using one of these services like Patreon or anything like that,
Hmm.
we set up a bank account. We get a burner phone and attach that phone number to a Zelle, and we just have people Zelle money to us.
Yeah, but
There's
the
no
thing is, though,
platform there to step on.
well,
What are you
no,
going to
there
do? You're
is.
going to tell a fucking
There's payment
bank?
process. Yes, yes,
You
that's what
no, but
happened. Mastercard stopped.
that's
Uh,
no, that's a credit company. That's not a bank. Don't confuse
yeah,
those.
that's true. But
There's a difference between
you
Bank
have
of
to use a
America
card.
and Mastercard.
You have to use a card in order to send money through a bank.
No, you don't. I just use my
Yeah,
app.
yeah, but
Zelle is
what
done through
card?
my
But you have a
app.
card. You have a card connected to.
If I set up a business account with Bank of America and money's coming into it, they're not going to bitch.
Right. See,
They're
what you mean
they're,
is right
they're
because Bank of America will strip your shit so quick. You have to use
why?
a card in order to. You have to use a card in order to have payment process
Well, to get your
from the
money,
Bank of
yes, or
America.
you just transfer the money to PayPal.
Yeah,
Launder
but
it.
PayPal
You
decides
launder it
not to
through a
use that,
fucking through Zelle and a bank.
and
It's
if
not
PayPal
coming
doesn't,
from one of these
and if PayPal
platforms
doesn't
that they're
want to do
scared
business,
of.
and if PayPal doesn't want to do business with you, you're fucked. Like that's the problem with having these monopolies. These people, are unaccountable to anyone because they're so big.
You know, it's my thought that the art of laundering money is
We're not
so
laundering.
so
Don't
if
don't imply that we're laundering money because we're not.
no, let me finish. The art of laundering money has been around for a long time. So channeling funds through sources that would circumvent the social snowflake storm, the blizzard of
Yeah.
snowflakes as it were,
Again, we can
is
have people
easy.
send us money orders. Yeah, that's the best. That's what we have people send us money orders.
I just
That
firmly
would be
believe that
ridiculous.
there is no bank which it has been proven that they are above the law, that they are untouchable, that they are the most sovereign entities in the
It's not
world,
about the.
are going to
It's not about the.
capitulate to social pressure.
It's not about the law. It's about social pressure.
Banks
That's
don't
why.
have
That's
to
why we
worry
have.
about that.
That's why we have the saying "Get woke, go broke." Is because these people who capitulate to the mob do not care, apparently, seemingly, about losing money. They don't. Apparently, they have no problem with not making money. It's the weirdest thing. But that's why they say "Get woke, go broke." Right? It's the more you capitulate to these people, the less money you're gonna make. And it seems like they just don't care, but it's because they have so much money already that they can take this hit just to look good. And it's really the strangest thing to me. I can't wrap my head
I
around it.
just I don't see major banks capitulating to social pressure.
Oh, absolutely, they would. Yeah,
Why? Their
everyone
only
has.
interest is gaining more money. The only interest they have is money. That's all they deal with. And the more money they have coming in that they can use for their own purposes, they're not going to give a fuck if a few snowflakes are hollering, "Oh, pfft, you think
Yeah, they
you
will.
think Sarkon doesn't have a bank account? Why aren't they crying to have his bank account shut down for all that Patreon
Yeah,
money or
no,
now the
he has
subscriber
a
star
bank
money
account.
that's coming in.
Yeah, he has a bank account, of course, but that's the thing is his Patreon got shut down, so making
Right.
through Patreon is gone. Now, luckily, a lot of people went over to Subscribestar immediately, and he's got at least I think it was 25% of that, like within a few days. He's got almost 25% of what he was making before, so he'll be okay. But it's the principle that matters, you know. And then, of course, if something happens as a Subscribestar, then what? I mean, there's other, there's other competitors, but uh, every time something becomes the slight bit popular, they get shut down by these Silicon Valley companies who are trying to corner the market, where they're the only ones who do it.
Yeah. Well, I think that ultimately it comes down to, of course, they have this idea that, you know, I don't that this social pressure could negatively affect their money, their standing and what they do. But again, with banks have been proven too big to fail, so they're too big to fucking care.
No, fuck that. I don't agree with too big.
They've been proven to be too
Fuck
big
that.
to fail.
No, fuck that. They're
I
not too
mean,
big to fail.
they can fucking
If they're too big,
manipulate the world economy and get
exactly.
a
If they're
wrist
too big to
slap as
fail,
opposed to the indictments that should have been handed
exactly.
down.
If they're too big to fail, then they're too big to exist. Fuck them. No.
I mean, if
If they fail,
HSBC
they
Bank
fail.
had been indicted, it would have.
Hell with the
They said it would have
consequences.
broken the world economy.
To hell with the consequences. If they're too big to fail, they're too big to exist.
Well, I can agree with that. That's fine in principle, but that's never going to happen. Banks
No.
are the Illuminati in a sense.
Yeah,
They
no,
rule
I
the
know what you're saying.
world.
Yeah, yeah, they do.
PayPal, these guys, they don't rule the fucking world. They just rule social circles. This
They
kind of
rule.
thing.
They rule.
It's
They
small
rule
scale.
social media.
Sure, but they're small scale.
Yeah.
Social media is broad, but you
No,
know,
it's not small scale. It's
social
not.
media is
It's
not too big to fail.
social media is imperative today. Cannot have like you're not gonna have people exist nowadays. We have like a new kind of person, like a new kind of human being. You're not going to exist nowadays. In media. That's
Stop
why
moving
things
your
happening
mic.
to like Alex Jones. Sorry, things like people like Alex Jones, moving, getting depersoned completely off of everything except for his website. He has everything else is removed, and I mean, luckily it was a high profile case, and so people knew what happened, and people went to his website. But
Is it
I
a
mean,
rights issue?
is it a rights issue?
That's what it
That's an
comes down
interesting
to.
thing. So yeah, I mean, I'm well, definitely a an advocate for an internet bill of rights. I think we need something like that because I think that the internet is crucial to our day to day lives. Whatever it is, you use the internet every day,
Sure,
constantly.
but
You can't be without it.
how does that combine with your mentality of the free market,
Well, okay, so yeah, I mean, it is the free market. There's nothing saying that to have
Mike?
your social media platform, you know, like your platform to exist, right? But you definitely have a right to at least use certain platforms,
Do you?
especially like with Twitter, right? Because it was determined in a lower circuit court, I believe it was the Ninth Circuit Court, said that Donald Trump cannot block people on his Twitter account because then they don't have access to the president, which is their right. And so that was determined as a right that he cannot block people, which means that Twitter is a public domain that is public,
No,
site, and no,
his
that is the
Twitter,
larger implication.
his
No,
Twitter
that's a
feed.
larger. No. That's a larger
This
implication,
falls
though.
to
Is that if you
transparency of government. If he's going
no,
to use his personal Twitter feed to
yeah, great,
run out stuff, put stuff out
great.
on Twitter about the government from the presidential
Mm-hmm.
standpoint, then he, as an entity, his account is
His account,
therefore no longer
sure.
falls
But
under
if
the
my
same rules as
but
anybody
if my
else's.
but if my account is banned, then I no longer have access to the president's account, even if it's not banned by him.
That
If
doesn't
it's banned
matter.
by
If
Twitter,
you
oh,
were
it doesn't
if
matter
you
because now
violated terms of service,
no, it
then
doesn't
they
matter
have
then.
every right to ban you. He
But then I
didn't
have no
ban you.
access.
It's
But then I
saying
have no access to the president, do I?
they
I have
didn't
no
say that
access.
they can't ban you. They said he can't do it.
No, that is the implication, though, is that, and it can be argued.
Implication doesn't mean truth. That
So the
doesn't
thing,
mean it's not happening just because it implies that it could. I
no,
mean,
what
you
I'm
tell
saying
me
is that
this all the time.
it can be interpreted that by someone by Twitter banning a person by banning an account that uh, they no longer have access to the president, which
Sure,
means
but
that their First Amendment rights are being violated.
it can be
Which
implied
means
that there
that
was collusion with Russia because Don Jr. wanted a meeting to get dirt on
no.
Hillary Clinton with Russians. It can be
We're talking about
implied.
we're talking about an actual court case that was ruled on. We're not talking about
An actual
theories
court
about
case that's
Russia.
going to be ruled on. You know?
Well, yeah, we'll get to that when it's ruled on. This has actually been ruled already, right? So what I'm saying is that it seems like it's going to be more like a public utility at some point, much like the phone company, much like your electric company is a public utility. Your water, your electric, all that shit is a public utility.
Sure, but they
And they
still
can't
are
just decide to
businesses.
cut, but they can't just decide to cut you off because of something you said.
No, but they can give you no,
The
but your
only reason they can
utility
cut you
company
off
can
is
cut you off if you
okay.
don't pay your bill or if you
That's it.
misuse the
Right.
electricity.
That's the
If
only
you
reason why they
misuse
say
your
that.
electricity, they can cut you off.
Right. But they can't cut you off because it's something you said. Like the telephone can't cut you off of their phone
Well, if you say I'm going to
because
share
of what
my
you said
power
over
with
the
my
phone.
neighbors, they can look to cut you off.
If you do that, then yeah. So if you,
But the implication of you saying that you're going to do it is enough for them to cut you off, I'm sure. I mean, they're a business. They have
they
the
are a
right
business,
to
but
affect their own terms of service and interpret them
no,
as
they are a
such.
business. But the thing is, like I said, when so like the telephone company, right? They can't cut you off because of something you said over the phone. What
Really?
they can do is prosecute you for, or they can help in having you prosecuted for things that you said over the phone if it's something illegal.
If it's FCC
So they can
violation,
give
they
you
can surely cut your phone
no,
off.
no, they can't.
Yes, they can. They can stop your service if you violate the FCC rules of conduct for
If
communications
I were to call you right now,
and make a bomb threat.
phone right now, and say a ton of racial slurs and a ton of misogynistic comments and things like that, because we're not talking about threats, right? Because that's not covered under the First Amendment. We're talking about just language. And so if I was to do that, T-Mobile, who I use, could not cut me off.
Sure, but is that in their terms of service? If it's not, no. But if it's in Twitter's terms of service that that kind of conduct is not allowed, they can cut your fucking ass off.
Yeah, but
That's part of terms of service.
So Trump should be able to block people.
No, not if it.
of what
I
they
bet
say to
you. So it's not. I would have thought if they could say that, it would be in their terms of service and their privacy policy that couldn't happen. That public access channels like that would not be able to be block the users. Is it not built in there? If it's not, then yeah, that's telling him he can't do something that he should be allowed to do.
If you actually, so they also can't ban him from Twitter, even though he's probably violated terms of. Sure, he had.
Technically, they did say that they could ban him on his personal
really
account
can't.
because he has the White House feed that he can use for presidential matters. That is what he's supposed to be using. He chooses to use his own.
That. He should just use that and just say like the most outlandish shit. I think that'll be hilarious.
Right, but that's and therein is they have an out there if they wanted to because they've talked about banning him. Because he does have an official channel to speak as the president. He doesn't have to use his personal.
his account was deleted for like, I forget how long it was. It was like 20 minutes or something like that, right?
Oh, sure, but
The
threats will get you
disgruntled.
everywhere.
Well, no, no, no. It was the disgruntled, like Twitter
Go to
employee
Gab.
who
That
was
would be
on his
funny.
way. Yeah, no, Gab. Yeah, if he went to Gab, you understand? If he went to Gab, they couldn't take Gab out anymore, like because that would be protected for the same reason that Twitter is protected. And so, like, that would be amazing if he really should go.
But if
That would
it,
just
so,
blow my mind.
I guess my only problem is this protection that we talk about with Twitter, because I mean the White House has a Facebook page, so
Yeah,
it's not like there's not a channel for information to come from them. Plus, we have the National Alert Service now, where shit can come to us by text.
yeah,
So protecting these, they're businesses. They're trying to look at them as anything more than businesses, even if they're a widely used community tool, they're still a business. And businesses get to determine who they do business with
yeah.
and
And that's
how
the
that
thing is that
business is
they're
run.
no, no, no. But they're a business, but they won't allow other businesses like them to exist, and that's the problem. And I
But
would be fine. I would be fine if there was
it's
healthy competition. If there was, oh hey, we're not gonna mess with you, but we're gonna talk shit about you. Fine, talk shit about them. But to like specifically put pressure to stop people from doing business with them, saying, oh, we're not gonna do business if you do business with these people. I mean, I guess that's fine too, but
well, it's
the fact that
like
they put pressure on these companies to stop doing business with competitors of theirs makes it not a free market.
well
And don't
the
get me wrong, we do not have a all in this country. There's not a free market.
but
We don't have one.
just
We don't
FYI,
have one at all.
just FYI,
Yeah.
to counterpoint that
Hmm.
from Subscribe Stars standpoint, PayPal is not the only fish in the fucking ocean.
No,
There are
it's
so
not,
many
and it is the
avenues for
biggest.
getting paid, and just because it's the popular
Yeah.
one, it doesn't.
But no, it sets a
They have
precedent
options
though.
out there. There is a free market out there for them to have a
Hmm.
service that will allow their use.
Yeah, you think so. We'll see what happens. But so PayPal obviously is the biggest one, and if they don't want to do business, fine. But what happens when one of the other, payment processors that they go through gets put a bunch of pressure on and stops doing business with them through no fault of Subscribestar,
Then you do the
right? They
smart
didn't do
thing.
anything wrong.
Then you do the smart thing, and
Well, that
and
other people
and
don't
use some
like.
of your
Well, that's the only crime. No, no, no. Hang on. That's the only crime that they're
what crime?
guilty of. Is the only crime that they're guilty of is hosting people that other people don't like.
It's not right, but it's not a
That's
crime,
it. No,
right?
oh, no. You have no. It is a crime. It's a sin. It's a mortal sin.
No,
At
it's
that.
not. It's just
It
it's a
is.
business that is
No,
capitulating
it's a
to
mortal
social pressure,
sin,
and
and
they're
they need to be
saying
punished.
we as a company are making an
That's how that
executive
works.
decision to, you know, do what a
No,
business
that's how
wants
that
to
works.
do.
We don't do business with you because you committed a mortal
And
sin,
there's no
hosting
law that
people
says
that we
they
don't
have to
like.
do business with them.
No, of course they don't. Well, no, actually, I don't know. If you have
There's no
to,
law that
if
says
you
they
have to
have.
bake the cake
Then
within
sell
cake,
me a cake whether I'm gay or not.
right? Well, that's what people want, right? That's what the same people who want these people deplatformed want the gay wedding cake
But
baked.
you even argued yourself
Just
they
so,
don't have to sell the
yes,
fucking cake to them if they don't want to,
yeah, no, I agree with that.
and they
The
don't
thing
have to
is,
take their
the
money
people,
if they don't
but
want to.
the people who are advocating for this sort of deplatforming don't have those same principles. They don't apply principles evenly. They just apply them arbitrarily depending on the situation. I'm saying yes, bake the cake if you want to. Don't bake the cake if you don't want to. They're saying you must bake the cake, but also you must not support these people. You don't have a choice in whether or not you support these people. You cannot support these people. It's a difference.
Or what?
Or I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know what I don't know.
there's
I
the
don't even know what the
thing.
consequences are. But they
Right.
seem to keep. But they seem to keep capitulating, even though there's absolutely no consequence other than a couple of tears. I don't know why they keep doing it. It just
So
doesn't make any sense to me.
so here's and this goes to what I was going to say is there's an even simpler solution. Tumblr is closing down all not safe for work content, right?
Yeah.
They're going to get rid of accounts. They're going to do the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
So what is somebody smart doing? They're building a website called Cumbler. I shit you not. And their plan is to have it go live on the
Awesome.
17th when Tumblr shuts down all of that content. And they're setting up a platform to where you can transfer all of your blog from Tumblr straight over to Cumbler.
That's a great name. I love that name.
So if you can't find somebody that will let you channel your money into your bank like PayPal, well, build your
Hmm.
own fucking website. You know,
Well, see, that's the
it's
thing is a lot of those people are going through payment processors. People who like processors that will, support porn websites because they don't give a shit about this sort of thing. And so that is another option.
but it will be the underdogs. It will always be the
Oh yeah,
underdogs, the little guys that will take your money. And they won't care about the social pressure initially. And maybe
right.
you'll be with them for two,
After a
3 or 4 years
while,
before they cave to it. But by
yeah.
that time, guess what? There's another little guy, two, three, a dozen other
Hopefully,
little smart startups that are going to be doing the
yeah.
same thing. Or it's become
Hopefully,
easier. There will always be somebody there. And if you let these little fucking tiny Tim squirrels run around chasing their tails, getting wasting their time trying to get people deplatformed from this, that, or the other. While the
yeah.
smart people are just saying, fuck it, we'll go to somebody who wants our money and we'll just keep doing that.
Yeah, I mean,
Fuck them.
listen. I hope Subscribestar, does the thing that they're supposed to do. They're a free speech platform. Whatever. Fine. Hopefully, they stay that way. Because Twitter started out that way. Tumblr started out that way. Patreon even started out that way, talking about we're a free speech platform. Everyone started out that way. Hopefully, they stay that way, and hopefully, it works out for them. If
You
not, yeah, there'll be somebody else. But the thing is you're always chasing the next thing, and it's unfortunate.
So
But
how do
I
you
don't know.
turn
I
your
guess,
generation and the generation after you around? Because that is where this ultimate quote unquote fault lies, is in these entitled generations coming to bear. These are the generations that are going to be, your generation is starting to move into the power seat.
see, the thing is, I don't think it's about generation.
It
I think
is.
it's about no, it's about ideology, about mindset. Because
Sure.
I don't have that same mindset that other people of my generation
Correct.
have.
But I agree with that, John. I agree
So
that you don't
I don't
have
think
as
it's
much of
about
that
generation.
entitled mindset, but
It's about
what you also
ideology.
don't have is the majority.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. Your generation and the generation that's coming after you, the majority of these two generations are so fucking entitled.
I don't think so. I think because I've seen a lot of cases where Generation Z, the generation after me, is actually more conservative than anyone else, and actually is anyone else around now, and is actually more pro free speech
But it's being shown that that
than.
generation in and of itself, taking longer to move out of the fucking house, marrying less,
Yeah.
not staying at jobs as long as for great lengths of time because they are not seeing success immediately in jobs. They're not seeing success fast enough, and
Yeah.
so they move on to something else because in 3 months they weren't promoted to manager. It's a sense of entitlement that is increasing the turnover rate at companies. It is putting a burden on my generation. The generations above me that still have kids and grandkids that don't want to leave the house. They don't want to move out because they don't feel like they need to. There's no impetus, no responsibility to do that. And
Yeah.
it's the age that people are leaving their house is climbing faster than
Yeah.
anything else.
Yeah. I believe I was 22 when I left my parents' house.
I was 16.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
So I mean, it
there's
definitely.
and
But I mean,
people
the
my
thing is,
age, we wanted to get the fuck out of our houses
yeah.
back
I
then.
mean, I wanted to. I just didn't have a job because I was a fucking idiot. But
Because who was pushing you? right?
Well,
Was
no
anybody
one
pushing you
until
to have a job? Go get a fucking job so
oh
you can
yeah,
get the fuck out of
my
here.
dad my dad was all about it, but I was fuck you, dad phase,
But there were no consequences, so you didn't have to fucking listen,
and
right?
until I got kicked the fuck out and I had to do
Yeah,
it.
but at 22,
Yeah,
Jesus
I
Christ,
got pushed out.
that
Yeah,
took him long enough.
I got pushed out
You
of the
know,
nest.
what took him
I
so
got pushed
fucking long?
by mom.
Mm,
Honestly, that's what it was. My
yes.
mom stopped him for a
See,
long time.
and if we followed the Bible, that bullshit wouldn't be happening. She would shut the fuck up
Yeah.
and kick your ass out.
Yeah.
Stop making you fucking brownies.
Right.
Put the fucking bong down, get a job, and go get an
Right.
apartment. Right?
Yeah. Well, then what happened was I get kicked the fuck out, and I had to deal with it.
I
So
mean,
I had to float. I had to fly on my own.
overall, John, you're asking for the majority of two generations to give up the power that they have in this country
Yeah.
and the world, ultimately the world, although I do think it's worse here than it is anywhere else in the world. But the UK is running a close second, I would think. But ultimately,
UK
you're
is
talking,
fucked.
how do you do that? You can't stop it. So the only thing that you can do, this
Yeah.
social pressure is going to keep making companies and people and even our government, we see it in our government, capitulate to this social pressure. Look at what's
Yeah.
happening to our colleges. That's the prime
See,
example.
that's what I've been struggling with. Is I have the whole libertarian free market aspect. Let's let the Darwinianism you know win out, but at the same time, it's like when you're stopping competition from happening, you can't have a truly free market because you don't have anyone. No one else is able to rise up through their own merit. They're only able to rise up if they do what the people already in charge are able to do. So it's something that I've got to think through
Well,
even more. But it's been really tough trying to you know
I don't
put
think
that together and not have cognitive. What I having dissonance,
I
but it's
think
been
this
happening
is
more and more lately.
I don't think
To
this is
really
about I don't think this is so much about shutting down competition
that's
as it
exactly what it
is.
is.
Social pressure is not doing anything but telling businesses and telling people how they can
Mm.
run their business and how they can live their lives.
Yeah, it's
That's
true.
what it wants to do. It
Yeah,
wants to tell people how they can handle their business, how they can do things. Is what a
uh,
word.
is what a word, Dante. But
Which word?
before he responds, yeah, I mean, I think what just needs to happen. Remember that you can tell other people to fuck off. Like that's okay. You can do that. It's okay to tell someone, "Fuck you." No,
Yeah, we don't care
I'm
how
gonna
much
do
money you
things
make
my
as long
way.
as you don't take it from these people.
Well, no, no, no. I'm saying like you can even just say like, "Oh, you don't like this person? Well, fuck you. I'm gonna, you know, do business with this person."
But yeah,
You know
but
what I mean? Like,
that would take an old school
but no.
mindset. That would
Yeah,
take the power
exactly.
being in the hands of people like me who say don't give a fuck. But now
Yeah,
everybody says you have to give a fuck
right.
because it
Whatever
hurts our
happened?
feelings.
Right. Whatever happened to telling someone like, "Oh, you hurt my feelings." Well, I'm just gonna tell you to go fuck off or fuck yourself. Like, whatever happened to that? Like, that was when I was. That was the thing. Like, if someone was being mean to
Because
you
if
for
you
whatever reason, you
yes,
say, "Oh, fuck you, fuck off." What happened to that?
because telling somebody to fuck
No,
off is
not
a health
illegal.
issue now. It's a mental health issue that you're causing.
Jesus Christ, I fucking hate the world. This is both the best and the worst timeline we've ever experienced. God damn it.
I struggle to see the best.
Oh, it's the best in certain ways. I'm not gonna get into it because we need to get going soon.
I see the best when I'm in my little tiny bubble with my wife. That's the best of the world I see.
Yeah,
Outside of
no, I
that, it's
agree.
all fucked. We don't have standards anymore.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. There's no stay.
We sold our soul to the devil, who doesn't exist.
Right. So I'm still waiting to hear is that a word? What a word?
Did you say a
We talk
funky
about
word? Did I say a funky
we talk
word?
about cognitive dissonance. I'm guessing what he's talking about.
Possibly. I think that's made up word too that you just made up.
It's not. I didn't make it up. Cognitive dissonance.
It's
Two
just some
words.
shit you read on the internet, and of course everything
It's
on the
two
internet's
words, and they're
true.
two real words. I promise.
Yeah, but when you put them together, it just makes mishmash.
No, it's two real words. I promise, and they mean things. No, they mean holding two distinct views simultaneously.
Do you have that, John? Do you have that?
I try
You know what
not
we used
to.
to call that?
Bullshit.
Middle of the road.
I was
We just,
middle of the road.
are you Democrat or Republican? Yeah, I'm just kind of middle of the road.
That's not cognitive dissonance.
That's holding two different sets of value in one place.
No, it's not. It's holding one value.
N-
It's disregarding two different sort of
yeah,
values.
I take some from Democrats. I take some from
Governmentarianism.
Republicans. From both
Democrat
sides, the right and
federally.
the left. I take some from both,
No, you don't.
and I make this
No, you don't.
mishmash that's mine. That
No, you
half
don't.
of what I say you don't agree with, and half of what I say you still don't agree with.
Right. Governmentarianism. Governmentarianism. I guess it's
Government terrorism.
governmentarianism. Governmentarianism is as
Governmentality.
governmentarianism. Did you say that? Because that doesn't sound like something I would say. It sounds like something you would say. Governmentarism.
I know a lot of big words, but I don't remember if I
I don't
said
think you know
one.
that many big words.
I do.
Do you know what
Discombobulate.
Do you know what anti-disestablishmentarianism is?
Yes.
What is it?
It's a big word with lots of syllables.
It is. But
It's a
do you
big
know what
word.
the definition? Do you know what the definition of it is?
Well, if we broke it down, do we really want to go into breaking down into its fundamental parts?
Anti-disestablishmentarianism.
It's communism.
No. In fact, it's the opposite of communism.
That's what I
In a
said.
way. In a way.
It's democracy.
No, it's not. It's basically the belief that you don't think there should be a separation of church and state. That's really all it is. It's actually
It's
say
fascism.
the word.
Yeah.
Terrorism?
You said it, John.
I didn't say government terrorism. I said no. I said cognitive dissonance, and I don't think I said government.
Dante, bear in mind, he's had approximately 5 to 27 beers.
Yeah, I mean that's a fair estimate. I don't think I said government terrorism. I wouldn't have said that. I probably said something else.
Probably.
Yeah, no,
And
I
it
wouldn't
was
say that.
probably
I don't
not
know
a
what
word.
that word is. That's not a word.
John makes up words. He thinks he's Shakespeare.
No, the word for that is statism. You're a statist.
Statism.
Statist
God, you and your
bootlicker.
isms. Hey, now that John's through making up words,
And I'm done with my beer too. So.
finally, Jesus Christ. Anyway, hey, we appreciate all you guys hanging out here. We've had some interesting conversation going on. Love to see all the comments. Glad you showed up tonight. If you liked what you saw, hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribing if you haven't already. We hope you're one of the big 19. Can we call them the big
Yeah.
19? Yeah.
Yeah.
Till it gets bigger.
You know, we should start a Patreon, and then the first 19 people to subscribe to it get something special that no one else gets, and then we'll get deplatformed, and it'll be fun. Sounds good. Sounds like a good time. And no, I don't believe I said it. Doesn't sound like me.
Well, I say you watch back the last 20 minutes of the show,
Yeah,
find
I'll
it,
do that
and
I'll do
post
that
it in the
tomorrow.
comments. And then Dante, keep your eyes,
Yeah,
check back in
Dante-
on Monday. I'll drive him because I'm going to see him tomorrow. I will drive him
true.
to make sure he looks at the last 20 minutes of this, see if he can figure out what word he made up. And
I don't think I made up any words. I swear.
of course you don't, but your face is red. And it's
I
either
never
the
make up
beer
words.
or your lie.
It's the beer. I promise. I do get. I get red when I drink. Funny. Yeah.
We'll get to the root of it, Dante. Don't you worry. Wow. You really just had to take us out on that note. All right.
Dante.
So,
We appreciate it, man.
hey, we appreciate everything you're doing,
Love.
Dante. Thank you for watching. Hey, folks out there, if you pick this up after we've recorded it, hey, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, post it out on Twitter, send a letter to your congressman, tell him what you think about us. Maybe we'll get deplatformed by the government. I think that's where we really want to go with this. And worst case scenario, send a letter to your grandma. She'll probably want it by snail mail. And let her know to pick us up on YouTube. Maybe she has a phone that she can watch it on. But outside of that, we've had a long and John, you said it.
Apparently I said it. I don't think I did. Apparently.
And on that note, thanks for watching, everybody. John, you have yourself a great night. And remember, New Year's Eve, 6 to 6, 12 hours of our inane bullshit.
12 hours of faggotry.
Oh, I love it.
Prepare your buttholes.
Hey, and where can they find us on Twitter, John?
You can find us at the Gen Gap P.
Beautiful.
The Gen Gap P.
Thanks a lot, folks. Have yourselves a great night. Peace out.
Yep, see you guys.